Chapter 1197. In the void of the Hungduan mountain range. The dark clouds that shrouded the entire Hungduan mountain range gave people the feeling that the end of the world was coming. This made the martial honors and Emperor Wu experts who were hiding in the void around the Hungduan mountain range quickly send their juniors and disciples 1,000 miles away so that they could deal with the unforeseen event with all their might. Yu Zongshi, I am Bailey Waran from the Bailey clan of the Central Region. Just as the 9 black elixirs began to withstand the pill tribulation lightning, a silver-haired elder in his 70s suddenly walked out of the void in the east of the Hungduan mountain range. He was dressed in brocade clothes and had snow-white hair. The silver-haired elder cupped his hands and introduced himself to Yu Haoran, who was standing at the edge of the mountain range. Junior Yu Haoran greets Senior Bailey. Yu Haoran quickly greeted Bailey Waran, who took the initiative to introduce himself, regardless of how much dissatisfaction and resentment he felt towards the Bailey clan and the fact that they were still holding Shin Hokong captive. Great Master Yu, this old man may take the liberty to ask, what is the quality of the pill that you are refining? There was neither the coldness of an alchemist nor the arrogance of a genius. In the face of Yu Haoran's humble and polite reply, Bailey Waran looked at him with admiration and regret. If he had known that Yu Haoran was so outstanding, he would not have chosen the ordinary Bailey King as his marriage partner. Instead, he would have arranged for the first beauty of the Bailey clan, Bailey Ziyu. However, his regret was quickly interrupted by the deafening sound of thunder. He then pointed at the 9 black elixirs that were withstanding the lightning strikes and asked. Yu Haoran did not hide anything from him. He slowly rose into the air and glanced at the void around the Hungduan mountain range. He then pointed at the deep pit in the depths of the mountain range and said, Senior Bailey, there is a level 7 black lotus hidden in the deep pit in the depths of the mountain range. After hearing that there was a level 7 black lotus hidden in the deep pit of the mountain range, Bailey Waran's eyes immediately flashed with greed. The dozen or so experts hidden in the void also stare at the deep pit with clenched fists, ready to fight for it at any time. Yu Haoran's finger moved up and pointed at the 9 black pills that were enduring the lightning strikes. Actually, the pill that I refined at the beginning was the 3rd rank, 1st rank, 7 Lives Mysterious Gate pill. However, the 7th rank Black Lotus used the soul-splitting technique to change the quality and rank of the pill. Yu Zongshi, I am Lu Xianmin from the Lu clan of the Central Region. Upon hearing that the 9 pills that were being struck by lightning had been changed by the grade 7 Black Lotus, a silver-haired old man walked out of the void on the west side of the Hungduan Mountains. After introducing himself, the silver-haired old man immediately asked, Yu Zongshi, may I know the origin of the pills whose quality and grade have been changed? Junior Yu Haoran greets Senior Lu. Seeing that the silver-haired old man who had just walked out of the void was a peerless martial venerable from the number 1 puppet family in the Tianxin continent, Yu Haoran hurriedly bowed and then told him the types and grades of the 9 pills. The 3rd rank, 9th rank, 99 Condensing Devil Pill. After hearing the name of the pill given by Yu Haoran, Lu Xianmin could not help but frown. This was because he had never heard of such a pill as the 99 Condensing Devil Pill. Yu Zongshi, I'm Zhou Fengshu from the Zhou clan of the Central Region. Just as Yu Haoran pointed out the origin of the 9 black pills, a white-haired old man who looked even older but had an aura as deep as the sea walked out of the void on the north side of the Hungduan Mountains. Yu Haoran, this old man called Zhou Fengshu is a quasi-Emperor Wu powerhouse like the Tang family's great ancestor. Seeing Zhou Fengshu walk out of the void, Thowling in his sea of consciousness immediately raised his voice. Bailey Waran and Lu Xianmin also quickly nodded and greeted him. Senior Fengshu. Senior Fengshu. Just like how he treated Bailey Waran, Yu Haoran temporarily put aside his dissatisfaction with the Zhou clan and cupped his hands. Junior Yu Haoran greets Senior Zhou. Zhou Fengshu nodded gently at Yu Haoran and asked with a smile. Yu Zongshi, may I know the difference between the 99 Condensing Devil Pill and the 99 Spirit Condensing Pill? When Zhou Fengshu mentioned the 99 Spirit Condensing Pill, Bailey Yueran and Lu Xianmin looked at each other and noticed the shock in each other's eyes. Faced with Zhou Fenggui's question, Yu Haoran did not hide anything. He explained the difference between the two pills to Thaling in detail. Yu Zongshi, can the martial artist from the Alliance of the Righteous Path use the 99 condensing devil pill to improve their cultivation base and strength? After hearing the difference between the 99 condensing devil pill and the 99 spirit condensing pill, Bailey Howard took a step forward and asked eagerly, "It's impossible to simply consume the 99 condensing devil pill. After all, they're two completely different types of energy." However, Yu Haoran shook his head and gave an answer that disappointed Bailey Yueran, Lu Xianmin, Zhou Fengxiu, and the powerhouses who continued to hide in the void. However, with the change in Yu Haoran's tone, the hearts of the people present immediately rose again. If it can be combined with the third-rank first-grade demonic transformation pill that I just refined, then not only can you directly consume the 99 condensing devil pill, but you can also break through 1 to 3 small realms above the 6th-grade martial venerable realm. After hearing Yu Haoran's explanation, the 3 powerhouses at the scene and the few powerhouses hidden in the void looked at the 99 condensing devil pill and the demonic transformation pill with a strong desire. Seeing that the plan had succeeded, Yu Haoran smiled and returned to Qin Lingfei's side. "Junior brother Yu, there are also peerless powerhouses in the martial venerable realm in the heavenly martial sect. Why don't you let the ancestor fight for the 99 condensing devil pill and the demonic transformation pill?" When Yu Haoran replied to Zhou Fengxiu and Bailey Yueran's questions, he did not suppress his voice. Tung Yunjie, who was standing at the edge of the mountain range, also heard it clearly. Therefore, he was very puzzled that Yu Haoran had asked the ancestor and Emperor Qin to withdraw to Xianyang City in advance and give up the fight for the 99 condensing devil pill. "Senior brother Tung, when I was in the Yuan Pavilion of the Twin Ox Mountain, I said something when I faced tens of thousands of experts and powerhouses fighting for the supreme Huazuan pill." In the face of Tung Yunjie's puzzled questioning, Yu Haoran looked up at the peerless powerhouses and powerful powerhouses who were constantly walking out of the void. A trace of disdain flashed in his eyes as he said, "Since the establishment of the ancient alchemy Tao, no one has ever been able to take away the pill that the alchemist had just refined from his hands." Junior brother Yu, I understand. Chapter 1198. In the void of the Hengduan mountain range. Although the dark clouds that shrouded the entire Hengduan mountain range made the power of the pill tribulation as if the end of the world had arrived, the 999 demonic condensing pills that merged with the 7th-grade Black Lotus split soul not only had more energy condensed inside the pills, but also a trace of consciousness left in the split soul successfully offset a part of the power of the thunder tribulation. 10 minutes later, with the disappearance of the thunder calamity, the thick dark clouds above the Hengduan mountain range gradually dispersed. 9 black pills the size of a baby's fist and 9 pure white pills the size of a longan floated quietly in the air. Damned grade 7 Black Lotus. This young master will definitely not let you off. Looking at the dark clouds that gradually dispersed above the Hengduan mountain range, Yu Haoran cursed with an ugly face. "Haoran, what's wrong with you?" Yu Haoran suddenly cursed in exasperation, which scared Qin Lingfei. She quickly reached out to hold his arm and asked with concern, "Lingfei, under normal circumstances like refining pills that need to pass the thunder tribulation, as an alchemist after the pill tribulation, he will be rewarded by the heavenly Tao." Facing Qin Lingfei's concern, Yu Haoran took a deep breath and pointed to the cloudless sky and said, "With the power of the 7 lives profound gate pill and the reward of the heavenly Tao after the pill tribulation, it was enough for my cultivation to directly reach the peak of the 9th-grade martial saint. But now, speaking of this, Yu Haoran looked at the 7th-grade Black Lotus that rushed out of the deep pit and was desperately fighting for the 999 demonic condensing pills. It was all destroyed by this damn 7th-grade Black Lotus. After the pill tribulation, there is no reward of the heavenly Tao at all. Haoran, don't be angry." After hearing the reason for Yu Haoran's exasperation, Qin Lingfei immediately tried to persuade him. In any case, you'll have to refine the third stage first rank 7 lives profound gate pill again in a while, and you'll be able to obtain the reward of the heavenly Tao's rules again. You don't have to care about temporary gains and losses. Yu Haoran patted Qin Ling Fei's jade-like hand, indicating that he was fine. Then, he looked at the grade 7 Black Lotus with eyes filled with hatred. Although the 99 condensing devil pill was refined using the soul fragment of a 7th grade Black Lotus cultivator and the black energy that had been accumulated for nearly 1,000 years, the consciousness of the soul fragment within the pill had long been annihilated by the terrifying lightning tribulation. Therefore, the grade 7 Black Lotus cultivator did not have the upper hand against the 3 quasi-martial honorables and the 9 peerless martial honorables. In the end, he only managed to snatch a 9x9 demonic condensation pill. However, a middle-aged expert who was close to Emperor Wu's level, dressed in a star robe, had not only obtained 3 99 demonic condensation pills, but also 3 demonic transformation pills. Fouling. It seems that your guess was right. The Heavenly Ways rules no longer interfere with the affairs of the Tianxian continent. Yu Haoran said worriedly when he saw that the 11 experts and the grade 7 Black Lotus cultivator had not been punished by the Heavenly Ways rules, even though they had unleashed their full strength without any scruples. With the exposure of the pill condensation technique and his own powerful alchemy ability, it was easy to attract the attention of some of the real Emperor Wu's almighty experts. He was worried that without the suppression of the Heavenly Ways rules, he would very likely become the prey of some of the inherited families. Yu Haoran, don't worry too much. The situation is not as serious as you think. Fouling knew what Yu Haoran was worried about and comforted him with a smile. Because the Heavenly Ways rules do not mean that it will not interfere in anything. At least, before the end of the 5 regions Hidden Dragon ranking competition, the almighty experts of the Emperor Wu's level will not be able to appear. Really? Yu Haoran asked in disbelief. Of course. Fouling confirmed with a smile. Just when the 99 magic pill had just passed the Thunder Tribulation, a grade 3 Emperor Wu from the Blue Dragon clan tried to take away all the pills. The Heavenly Ways rules had already punished him. And the result? It turned out that the almighty expert of the Emperor Wu who wanted to take the pills was from his enemy, the Blue Dragon clan. Yu Haoran immediately wanted to know the final result of the punishment by the Heavenly Ways rules. His realm has been reduced to the martial venerable realm, and he will need to sleep for 10,000 years to recover. Fouling's tone sounded relaxed, but his expression was serious as he said this. As the Heavenly Ways rules that supervised all living things in the Tianxian continent. When it was at its peak, even the martial God realm experts who had broken through the life and death realm and enjoyed eternal life could not bear the punishment of the Heavenly Ways rules, let alone the almighty experts of the Emperor Wu's level. But now, that's great. After hearing the result of the Heavenly Ways rules, Yu Haoran could not help but secretly applaud. His realm had been reduced, and he was forced to sleep for 10,000 years. Even if the Blue Dragon clan had a long history, it would still be difficult for them to bear the loss of an almighty expert of the Emperor Wu's level. Screech. Seeing that he had sacrificed 9 divided souls and accumulated energy for nearly 1,000 years to refine the 99 magic pill, 8 of which had been taken away by these despicable humans, the grade 7 Black Lotus roared furiously to the sky. Along with the ear-piercing roar, a terrifying aura descended from the sky and directly enveloped the 3 almighty experts of the Emperor Wu's level who had just taken the 99 magic pill and a peerless expert of the peak of the grade 9 martial venerable realm. A first tribulation demonic path giant of the Emperor Wu's level. Feeling the pressure of the terrifying aura, the strongest middle-aged expert in a star robe muttered to himself with a gloomy face. Along with the muttering of the middle-aged expert in a star robe, a middle-aged expert over 2 meters tall with a very strong physique slowly walked out of the void. Bloodhand Demon Venerable of the Blood Demon sect. After seeing the middle-aged expert in a blood-red robe walk out of the void, Zhou Fengshu could not help but cry out. The heavenly demon sect, the earth demon sect, and the blood demon sect were known as the three holy lands of the demonic path. Their status and strength were not inferior to the seven top sections. If the three sects were to combine into one, they could even suppress the Yushu temple and not lose to the top families of the inheritance. This was also an important reason why the demonic path, which had been suppressed, could still occupy the northern region. The Bloodhand Demon Venerable was a giant of the demonic path who had become famous 30,000 years ago. He was the 79th sect master of the Blood Demon sect. With his self-created Blood Demon hand, he suppressed all the experts of the righteous and demonic path at the same time. He was the true number one expert of that time. Didn't the Bloodhand Demon Venerable die of old age 30,000 years ago and was buried in the forbidden area of the Blood Demon sect? A peerless martial venerable expert from the Flowing Cloud sect retorted in disbelief after hearing Zhou Fengshu's muttering about the origin of the blood-robed old man. In response, a trace of disdain flashed in the eyes of everyone present. Chapter 1199. In the void of the Hengduan mountain range. Compared to Zhou Fengshu and the others, who were unable to calm down after a long time, Xing Pao quickly calmed down and took the initiative to introduce himself. Bloodhand Overlord, this old man's Taoist name is Comet. I'm from the Sky Palace of the Yushu Temple. This was because he hoped to use the deterrence of the Yushu Temple to make Bloodhand Overlord wary. GAGA. Seeing that Comet wanted to use the Yushu Temple to suppress him, Bloodhand Overlord let out a strange laugh. Then he stretched out his skinny blood-red hand and grabbed Comet. Comet couldn't help but snort when he saw that Bloodhand Overlord didn't give face to the Yushu Temple and even dared to attack him directly. Then his entire body suddenly exploded, quickly forming a river of stars. After wrapping around the bloody hand, the galaxy formed by Comet's body quickly rose, intending to wrap Bloodhand Overlord in it. However, when the galaxy was less than 10 meters away from Bloodhand Overlord, an extremely miserable howl was heard from the galaxy. Accompanied by a miserable howl, the galaxy abruptly exploded into countless specks of starlight, which then scattered to the corners of the void and fell. Bloodhand Overlord, who was wrapped by the galaxy, withdrew it without any damage. Then, he smirked and looked at the spot where Comet's body had exploded. The scattered stars that had fallen from the corners of the void began to quickly converge, quickly condensing into a comet. Not only was Comet's face pale and bloodless, but his starry robe was also tattered. It was obvious that he had suffered very serious injuries. Bloodhand Overlord, what do you want? Comet reached out to wipe the remaining blood from the corner of his mouth and took out a special jade pendant. While holding it tightly in his hand, he asked Bloodhand Overlord with a gloomy face, "Leave behind the 3 9x9 demonic condensation pills and the 3 supremacy pills that you just took. Then you can leave." After seeing the special jade pendant in Comet's hand, Bloodhand Overlord's eyes flashed with a trace of fear. Then he gave a solution. "All right." Turning his head to look at Zhou Fengshu and the others, a trace of disappointment flashed across Comet's eyes. In the end, he gritted his teeth and took out the 3 9x9 magic condensation pills and 3 demonic transformation pills that he had just obtained. He threw them at Bloodhand Demon Venerable and quickly left the Hengduan mountain range. Zhou Fengshu shook his head helplessly and sighed when he saw Bloodhand's tyrannical gaze. He then took out 2 9x9 devil condensation pills and 2 devil transformation pills that he had obtained with great difficulty and tossed them to Bloodhand. Even the strongest Zhou Fengshu and Comet Xing didn't dare to go against the will of Bloodhand Demon Sovereign. The rest of the almighty experts who were about to be Emperor Wu and peak 9th grade martial revered experts could only obediently hand over the remaining 99 devil condensation pills and devil transformation pills. "Black Lotus, let's go." Bloodhand Demon Sovereign ordered after he tossed the 899 Devil Condensation Pills to the 7th grade Black Lotus and kept the 9 Supremacy Transformation Pills for himself. The black gas quickly condensed into a palm. After receiving the 899 Devil Condensation Pills from Bloodhand Demon Sovereign, the 7th grade Black Lotus quickly followed. You took away the 18 pills that Howren painstakingly refined. Not only did you not give me any benefits, you didn't even say a word of thanks. Seeing that Bloodhand Demon Sovereign and the 7th grade Black Lotus were about to leave the Hungduan mountain range, Howren ordered Qin Lingfei to stay where she was with a fierce expression. He then flew into the sky and sneered. Bloodhand Demon Sovereign, aren't you going a little too far? Gaga. Hearing Howren's sarcasm, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign turned his head and threatened with a strange smile. Little guy, seeing that you have successfully refined 999 Devil Condensation Pills, I will spare your life for now. If you dare to speak rudely again, I will directly swallow you alive. Bloodhand Demon Sovereign stuck out his long tongue and licked his lips. This made Qin Lingfei, who was standing at the edge of the mountain range, turn pale. Huh? Facing Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's threat, Howren laughed heartily without any fear. Little guy, what are you laughing at? From Howren's laughter, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign could clearly feel that he was not afraid of his threat. This made Bloodhand Demon Sovereign very puzzled. Bloodhand Demon Sovereign, I am laughing at your ignorance. After he stopped laughing, Howren sneered with disdain. Little guy, it seems that you are really tired of living. Hearing Howren's sarcasm, the irascible Bloodhand Demon Sovereign roared and stretched out his withered bloody hand, intending to directly capture Howren alive and then swallow him. Bloodhand Demon Venerable, seeing that you are also a formidable figure of the Devil Tao, this Prince Consort will give you one last warning. Facing Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's bloody hand, Howren raised his left hand and pressed his thumb against his middle finger. Never take the risk of snatching a pill that has just been refined by an alchemist. As soon as the warning fell, the thumb and middle finger intertwined and produced a sound. Boom! Accompanied by the crisp sound of fingers, a deafening roar suddenly came from the grade 7 Black Lotus. With the first roar, the black gas surrounding the grade 7 Black Lotus exploded, revealing the body of the grade 7 Black Lotus. With the second roar, the grade 7 Black Lotus suddenly let out a miserable howl. With the third roar, several cracks appeared on the 7 petals of the grade 7 Black Lotus. Seeing that the grade 7 Black Lotus was instantly injured, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's expression changed. He hurriedly withdrew the bloody hand that had captured Howren alive and appeared beside the grade 7 Black Lotus in a flash. After sensing the destructive power within the grade 7 Black Lotus, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign stretched out his bloody hand and pressed it against the petals of the lotus. He intended to use his powerful strength to suppress the destructive power within the grade 7 Black Lotus. With the fourth roar, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's expression changed slightly. With the fifth roar, a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. With the sixth roar, several veins on the grade 7 Black Lotus's bloody hand began to rupture. With the seventh roar, 3 fingers of Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's bloody hand were directly shattered. At this moment, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign finally understood the source of the destructive power within the grade 7 Black Lotus. He hurriedly ordered the grade 7 Black Lotus quickly throw away the remaining 299 Devil Condensation Pills. Master, I've already fused the 99 Devil Condensation Pills into my lotus body. The grade 7 Black Lotus replied in horror. After hearing the grade 7 Black Lotus's reply, a trace of ruthlessness flashed in Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's eyes. Without any hesitation, he intended to withdraw his hand and avoid the grade 7 Black Lotus. However, he unexpectedly found that he couldn't leave. This made him extremely terrified. With the 8th roar, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's bloody hand and one of his arms were blasted into blood-colored powder. Chapter 1200. In the void of the Hungduan mountain range, Thowling performed the possession technique at once. Yu Haoran's expression changed slightly when he sensed that the Bloodhand Demon Venerable was only seriously injured in the black gas formed by the explosion of the 7th grade Black Lotus and was not really dead. Then, he immediately ordered Thowling in his sea of consciousness. Without any hesitation, the pagoda spirit quickly used the possession technique and quickly reminded Linley, Yu Haoran, the reason why the Bloodhand Demon Venerable could survive the explosion of the 9x9 demonic pill is that his physical body has reached the peak of 9th grade Martial Venerable. Therefore, the laws of time's mark are unable to break down and evolve his body. Only the laws of flourishing end can completely destroy him. I see. After replying to Thowling, Yu Haoran stepped closer to the Bloodhand Demon Venerable, who was shrouded in the black gas. Seeing Yu Haoran quickly approaching, Zhou Fengxiu and the others subconsciously took a few steps back with fear in their eyes. Zhou Qianyi, who had been sent thousands of miles away by Zhou Fengxiu, had a hint of interest in her eyes. Stopping 30 meters away from the Bloodhand Demon Venerable, Yu Haoran slowly raised his arm and quietly waited for the black gas to disperse. A breeze suddenly swept through the void and blew away the black gas that had lost its energy. Zhou Fengxiu and the others could not help but gasp. Because of the explosion of the 9th 9x9 demonic pill, the Bloodhand Demon Venerable had not only lost 2 of his arms and 1 of his legs, but also more than half of his head, revealing the white brain matter in his head. Boy, you're dead. Although he had lost 2 of his arms and 1 of his legs, and his aura had dropped to the early stage of 1st grade Martial Venerable, the Bloodhand Demon Venerable, who was an ambitious and ruthless demon, did not reduce his ferocity in the slightest. I'll skin you, pull out your tendons, and then send your divine soul to the flame star. I'll let you know what it means to live a life worse than death. Facing the Bloodhand Demon Venerable's blatant threat, Yu Haoran's expression did not change at all. He stretched out his finger and shouted softly, "Prosperity has come to an end." Then, a power that could ignore the barriers of time and space entered Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's body when he tried to escape. This is a heaven-defying martial skill formed by the fusion of the laws of time and space. Sensing the rapid loss of his life force, Bloodhand Demon Venerable cried out with a pale face. At Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's shout, Zhou Fengxiu and the others involuntarily took a dozen steps back. They then looked at Yu Haoran in horror. Although the power of space law was also very mysterious, there were always traces that could be found. However, it seemed that ever since the ancient times were destroyed, no living being had been able to comprehend and control the power of the law of time. Although Zhou Fengxiu and the others could see that Yu Haoran relied on a special secret technique to display a martial skill that contained the power of the laws of time and space, to be able to do this was enough to show just how monstrous his perception was and how amazing his luck was. Turning his head to look at his great-granddaughter, Zhou Qianyi, Zhou Fengxiu's eyes showed a trace of desperation. Then, he reached out his hand and sucked Zhou Qianyi to his side, telling her not to speak for the time being. Facing Yu Haoran's actions, Zhou Qianyi did not resist at the beginning. She obediently stood beside him and stared at Yu Haoran. "Junior, let me go." Although the Quasi-Emperor Wu's cultivation allowed him to break through the 5,000-year lifespan limit of the Martial Saint realm, in order to survive until the laws of the Heavenly Tao were gradually perfected, allowing him to safely break through to the Martial Saint realm and Emperor Wu, or even the Martial God realm, he had used a secret technique of the demonic Tao to consume a lot of his lifespan. Now, he only had less than 1,700 years of lifespan left. After the laws of the heavenly Tao merged into his body, 100 years of lifespan would be taken away every 3 seconds. Therefore, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign was truly afraid when faced with the rapid loss of his life force. Not only did he admit defeat for the first time in his life, but he was also facing a young man who was not even 20 years old and was only an early-stage 9th grade Martial Saint. In the face of Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's surrender, Yu Haoran only looked at him coldly and did not say a word. Yu Zongshi, Bloodhand, I admit defeat. Seeing Yu Haoran's cold gaze without a trace of emotion, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign immediately realized that he had addressed him incorrectly and hurriedly spoke. However, Yu Haoran's reaction was still cold and silent. Yu Zongshi, as long as you are willing to let me live, I, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign, am willing to swear on the laws of the heavenly Tao to serve you for life. Sensing that he only had 700 years of lifespan left, Yu Haoran was still indifferent. Bloodhand Demon Sovereign knew that if he did not show enough sincerity, he would not be able to get Yu Haoran to take back the laws of the heavenly Tao. Therefore, he could only sacrifice his future freedom in exchange for less than 700 years of lifespan. In the face of Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's promise to become a slave in exchange for his life, Yu Haoran couldn't help but sneer. One of the 10 great secret arts of the demonic Tao, the grafting demonic art. Not only can it fuse the divine soul, but it is also one of the few special arts that can transfer oaths of the heavenly Tao. Hearing Yu Haoran directly point out the sinister intentions behind his promise, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's expression changed. Bloodhand Demon Sovereign, give up completely. Today, you will undoubtedly die. Seeing the change in Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's expression, Yu Haoran's eyes immediately flashed with thick killing intent and gave him the final judgment of his fate. However, when he saw the despair in Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's eyes and recalled that in his previous life, he had also been unwittingly saved by an expert of the Blood Demon sect. In the end, Yu Haoran sighed and spoke in a gentle tone. Bloodhand Demon Sovereign, seeing that you were once a giant of the demonic Tao, before you die, I can do my best to answer the questions in your heart so that you can finally die in peace. Raising his head to look at Yu Haoran, whose attitude had suddenly become gentle, the despair in Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's eyes dissipated, and he completely recovered his ambitious and ruthless character. He sat cross-legged on one knee in the void and then asked the questions that had accumulated in his heart. Yu Zongshi, when Black Lotus used the method of dividing his soul to change the quality and grade of the 7 Lives Profound Gate pill, you once said this to these pieces of trash. In the face of Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's evaluation of trash, although Zhou Fengxiu and the others' eyes flashed with strong dissatisfaction, none of them dared to stand out and refute. This made the disdain in Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's eyes even thicker. Then, he continued speaking. If it can be used together with a rank 3 first-rank demonic transformation pill, it can also increase the cultivation of a martial venerable. Chapter 1201. In the void of the Hungduan mountain range. Bloodhand Demon Venerable, I didn't expect you to have such sinister intentions when I explained to you out of goodwill. Faced with Bloodhand Demon Venerable's blatant attempt to sow discord, Yu Haoran could not help but shake his head with a bitter smile. He felt depressed, as if he had shot himself in the foot. However, there was no panic in his eyes. He put away his bitter smile and explained calmly. If the medicinal efficacy of the 999 condensing demonic pills does not come into contact with each other, they will never self-destruct. If they are combined with the demonic extermination pill, they will have the powerful effect of helping a martial venerable to break through 1 to 3 small realms. Moreover, I guarantee that there will be no side effects. Faced with Yu Haoran's solemn explanation, Bloodhand Demon Venerable could not help but provoke him with a sneer. Yu Zongshi, do you dare to swear by the heavenly way to prove that everything you said is true? Bloodhand Demon Venerable, I have no obligation to promise or guarantee the efficacy of the 99 condensing demonic pills and supremacy pills to anyone. Faced with Bloodhand Demon Venerable's provocation, Yu Haoran's expression did not change at all. He looked at Zhou Fengxiu and the others with a faint smile on his face. However, when he saw the beautiful girl standing beside Zhou Fengxiu, a trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. However, he did not pay too much attention to the beautiful girl. After looking at Bloodhand Demon Venerable's provocative eyes again, he said with a chuckle. However, in order to destroy your conspiracy. Having said that, he slowly raised his left hand and swore. I, you Howren, swear by the heavenly way. If the introduction of the 9-9 condensing demonic pills and demonic extermination pills is a lie, I will be struck by lightning and my soul will be destroyed. Seeing that you Howren did not hesitate to swear by the heavenly way to prove his innocence, a trace of panic flashed in Bloodhand Demon Venerable's eyes. However, as a one-tribulation quasi-emperor Emperor Wu, his powerful state of mind allowed him to quickly calm down. Just as he was about to attack again, Yu Haoran suddenly reminded him. Bloodhand Demon Sovereign, everyone who knows me, Yu Haoran, knows that I am not only narrow-minded, but also very vengeful. Seeing the corners of Bloodhand's lips curl up slightly, Yu Haoran clearly did not want to let him off the hook so easily. Not wanting to cause any more trouble for himself, Yu Haoran immediately stopped Bloodhand from trying to sow discord. Since you've used my kindness as a weapon to attack me, then I'm sorry. You can quietly wait for your death. When he finally calmed down and found a way to deal a fatal blow to his opponent, Yu Haoran's shamelessness made Bloodhand Demon Sovereign feel weightless, as if he had punched the air. He was so depressed that he almost vomited blood. Yu Zongshi, I have less than 300 years of life left. Can you really bear to see me die with grievances? Bloodhand Demon Sovereign begged bitterly. Bloodhand Demon Sovereign, I will choose to turn a blind eye. Nodding, Yu Haoran directly sat down cross-legged and began to form seals with his 10 fingers. He once again condensed the independent space of his Dantian fire and prepared to refine the 7 Lives Profound Gate Pill for the second time. Yu Haoran's action of preparing to refine the pill was enough to show his attitude. This made Bloodhand Demon Sovereign extremely depressed. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, he completely extinguished the thought of continuing to sow discord. Instead, he asked the question that had appeared in his heart when the 9th 9-9 demonic condensation pill exploded. Yu Zongshi, although I have a master-servant relationship with the rank 7 Black Lotus, we have never signed any contract. There is nothing between us. Why is it that when I decided to give up the idea of saving the rank 7 Black Lotus and wanted to retreat to avoid the explosion of the pill, a strong suction force prevented me from leaving? Yu Haoran, who was preparing to refine the medicinal ingredients, temporarily put down the medicinal ingredients that he was about to throw into the independent space of his Dantian fire after hearing Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's doubts. As the saying goes, a man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. The mantis stalks the cicada at the end of the world. Bloodhand Demon Sovereign, the reason why the Supreme Hua Pill can eliminate the demonic chi in the 9-9 demonic condensation pill is mainly because of its strong suction force. Driven by your insatiable greed, not only did you snatch the 9-9 demonic condensation pill, but you also didn't let go of the 9 Supreme Hua Pills that were of no use to you. Therefore, the reason why you ended up with your soul destroyed was also because of your own greed. After hearing Yu Haoran's explanation, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign blamed himself and developed a deep fear of Yu Haoran in his heart. Regardless of whether it was the ability to control the self-explosion of the 999 demonic condensation pills, or the seemingly unintentional method of setting up a fatal trap, it was enough to prove how sinister his schemes were, how thorough his understanding of human nature was, and how careful he was in setting up a trap. If the Blood Demon sect still wanted to continue to be passed on and wanted to become stronger when all living things in the world awakened, it was best not to offend Yu Haoran. Thinking of this, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign immediately took out a blank jade slip from his storage ring. Then, he used the remaining 100 years of his life to leave behind his legacy and a warning to the Blood Demon sect. After tearing apart the void of the Hungduan mountain range and sending the jade slip and storage ring back to the Blood Demon sect in the northern region, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign slowly closed his eyes. Just as Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's life aura was completely extinguished The body of the ninth grade martial venerable suddenly burst into flames and finally turned into countless ashes, falling to the corners of the Hungduan mountain range. Glancing at the ashes of Bloodhand Demon Sovereign, Yu Haoran couldn't help but sigh softly. Then, he immediately withdrew his gaze and began to concentrate on refining the 7 Lives Mysterious Gate Pill. Although the first time he refined the 7 Lives Mysterious Gate Pill, it was destroyed by the 7th grade Black Lotus using the method of dividing the soul. However, that only happened after the step of dividing the pills. The steps of refining the herbs, condensing the pills, and preliminary dividing the pills were exactly the same. Therefore, with the experience of refining just now, the process of refining the 7 Lives Mysterious Gate Pill this time was not only easier, but also consumed less of his own energy. 40 minutes later, the 9 pills that were successfully separated began to enter the process of absorbing and nourishing the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. And this time, the process of dividing the pills and nourishing the pills also did not encounter any unforeseen events and smoothly reached the level of pill formation. Perhaps it was because the pill tribulation of the 9-9 demonic condensation pill consumed too much of the power of the thunder tribulation, or perhaps it was because the heavenly ways monitoring of the Tianxian continent was lax, resulting in the pill tribulation caused by the 7 Lives Mysterious Gate Pill not being very strong. Chapter 1202. In the Void of the Hungduan Mountain Range. Looking at the 9 crystal-clear 7 Lives profound gate pills floating in the air, although Zhou Fengxiu and the others had a strong desire in their eyes, no one dared to go forward and snatch them. After all, the end of the Bloodhand Demon Venerable and the 7th grade Black Lotus had just happened in front of them. They did not dare to easily provoke Yu Haoran, who could control the explosion of pills. He got up and waved his hand at the pills floating in the air. The 9 7 Lives profound gate pills obediently fell into the pill bottle he had prepared in advance. Leaving his 7 Lives profound gate pill and carefully inspecting it, a trace of disappointment flashed in Yu Haoran's eyes. Originally, with his current alchemy cultivation and the heaven-defying effect of the nothingness pill condensing technique, although he could not guarantee the number of pills in the end, he could guarantee that the final grade of the pills would be between the 3rd and the 5th grade of the 3rd grade. Unfortunately, due to the influence of the 9-9 condensing demon pill, the 9 7 Lives profound gate pills were all only at the 1st grade of the 3rd grade. Fortunately, the 1st grade of the 3rd grade of the 7 Lives profound gate pill could be considered as fulfilling the agreement between him and Tung Yunjia, throwing the 7 Lives profound gate pill that he had checked just now directly to Tung Yunjia. Yu Haoran cupped his hands and said to Zhou Fengxiu and the others, "Junior Yu Haoran, thank you seniors for coming to watch this ceremony. Yu Zongshi is too polite." Facing Yu Haoran's gratitude, Zhou Fengxiu and the others did not dare to be arrogant in the slightest. "Seniors, I know that you want to exchange for the 7 Lives profound gate pill that I have just refined." Retracting his raised hands, Yu Haoran smiled and pointed out everyone's thoughts, and also gave an answer that made everyone present burst with joy. "I am only a mid-9th grade martial saint now, and I am still far from breaking through to the Quasi-Emperor Wu realm. Keeping the 7 Lives profound gate pill will only take up more space in the storage artifact. Therefore, I am willing to sell all 8 of the 1st grade of the 3rd grade of the 7 Lives profound gate pill. Yu Zongshi, a low-grade Venerable Realm Sword and a top-grade Saint Realm defensive armor in exchange for a 7 Lives profound gate pill. How about it?" Hearing that Yu Haoran was willing to exchange all the 7 Lives profound gate pills in his hands, the peerless martial venerable expert from the Flowing Clouds sect immediately gave his conditions of exchange. Regarding this, Yu Haoran's face pill, he did not agree to the exchange, nor did he refuse. "Great Master Yu, please take a look at the conditions that this old man offers." Zhou Fengshu glanced at the other party with a mere low-grade Venerable Realm sword and a top-grade Saint Realm defensive magic weapon in exchange for a 7 lives mysterious gate elixir that could help a prospective martial emperor to smoothly pass the heart tribulation. Lin expert to master ring master to heaven ring of the storage of. Nodding his head, Yuhaoran reached out to take the storage ring. Then, he informed Thaling in his sea of consciousness. Both of them checked the storage ring with their minds at the same time. Yuhaoran, that old man surnamed Zhou, is really generous. Thaling could not help but sigh as he looked at the 5 drops of 1,000 drug milk, a high-grade Venerable Realm sword, a meter-long blood dragon wood, 8 rank 3 grade 9 spiritual herbs, and a heavenly soundstone that could be used to calm one's chi. While keeping the storage ring, Yuhaoran took out the pill bottle containing the 7 lives mysterious gate pill. Then, he poured out 3 pills from it and wrapped them with Yuanli. He delivered them to Zhou Fengshu with a smile. Senior Zhou, your conditions are too generous. It's enough to exchange for 3 7 lives profound gate pills. Looking at the 3 pills in front of him, Zhou Fengshu was shocked. He looked at Yuhaoran in disbelief. As a powerful expert in the quasi-Emperor Wu realm, Zhou Fengshu was well aware of the power and danger of the 3rd tribulation of the quasi-Emperor Wu realm. This was because no matter how high one's talent was, no matter how strong one's willpower was, among 10 quasi-martial emperors, less than 4 would be able to successfully pass the 1st tribulation. Less than 2 would be able to successfully pass the 2nd tribulation. In the end, only 1 person would be able to successfully pass all 3 tribulations. Therefore, Zhou Fengshu, who was very clear about the importance of the 7 lives mysterious gate pill to the quasi-Emperor Wu realm powerful experts, thought that he could only exchange 1 7 lives mysterious gate pill at most. But what he did not expect was that Yuhaoran would be so generous as to directly give 3 7 lives mysterious gate pills. This also indirectly proved Yuhaoran's vision and confidence in his own alchemy ability. Yu Zongshi, Fengshu owes you a favor. If you have any requests in the future, as long as it's within my ability, Fengshu will definitely do my best. After reaching out to take the 3 pills and checking them slightly, Zhou Fengshu immediately made an excited promise. Apart from those ancestors who were in deep sleep, the number of people in the Zhou clan who had awakened or were about to break through to the quasi-Emperor Wu realm had reached 8. Now, with the help of the 3 7 lives mysterious gate elixirs, 3 of the 8 people would be able to pass the heart tribulation and become 1st tribulation quasi-martial emperors. As for how powerful a quasi-Emperor Wu realm powerful expert was, it could be seen from the fact that Bloody Hand Demon Venerable was able to suppress 3 quasi-Emperor Wu realm powerful experts and 8 Martial Venerables realm powerful experts. Regardless of whether his great-granddaughter Qian could win the favor of Yuhaoran in the end, with the harvest of 3 7 lives mysterious gate pills, the family would definitely give him a merit, and his status and treatment would also change dramatically. It was because of all kinds of benefits that Zhou Fengshu made a promise in excitement. Although the requirement of being able to do limited the practicality of the promise, Yuhaoran felt very gratified that Zhou Fengshu could give such a guarantee when they were strangers. Prince Consort, since you want to sell all the 7 lives mysterious gate pills, why didn't you inform me in advance? Seeing that Yuhaoran gave Zhou Fengshu 3 7 lives mysterious gate pills in one breath, without any intention of leaving 1 or 2 pills for his relatives, Emperor Qin and Ancestor Yuan, who were hiding in the void, could not stay still at once. Quickly rushing out of the void, Emperor Qin, relying on the special relationship between him and Yuhaoran, could not help complaining with a straight face. Your Majesty, even if I give you a 7 lives mysterious gate pill now, what can you do? In the face of Emperor Qin's complaint, Yuhaoran could not help but roll his eyes and refute. Moreover, after Ling Fei and I get married, you will be my father-in-law. In the future, I will not lack your pills. Yuhaoran's unhappy refutation not only did not make Emperor Qin angry, but also made him laugh proudly. Ancestor Yuan, Zhou Fengxiu, and others looked at Emperor Qin with undisguised envy and jealousy. Father. Chapter 1203. In the Void of the Hungduan Mountain Range. Howren, take a look at the gift I prepared for you. What do you think? After Emperor Qin stopped laughing under Qin Lingfei's reminder, Ancestor Yuan smiled and gave out a storage ring. After reaching out to take the storage ring from Ancestor Yuan, Yu Haoren and Thaling continued to look at the collection in the ring at the same time. I didn't expect the treasures prepared by the Tang family's great ancestor to be as valuable as the one surnamed Zhou. Thaling could not help but sigh as he looked at the thumb-sized Ocentric chalcedony, 9 drops of Flood Dragon's blood essence at the early stage of the first rank of the Venerable State, an ice crystal marrow-cleansing liquid, a 3rd rank 9th grade Icehorn Blood Dragon ginseng, and 2 3rd rank 1st grade tranquility flowers that could be used to calm one's qi and concentrate. Senior, these gifts are too valuable. After withdrawing his consciousness from the storage ring, Yu Haoren hurriedly refused. Haoren, with the 7 lives mysterious gate pill that you gave to Yunjia, I can give these gifts to you for free, Ancestor Yuan said heroically in the face of Yu Haoren's refusal. In that case, I'll take out 3 7 lives mysterious gate pills in exchange for these gifts. Since Yu Haoren could hear the sincerity in the Ancestor Yuan's heroism, he could not seem too stingy. He poured out 3 pills from the pill bottle and gave them to Ancestor Yuan. This Ancestor Yuan, who also knew the preciousness of the 7 lives mysterious gate pill, was in a difficult position when Yu Haoren gave him 3 7 lives mysterious gate pills in one go. If he accepted it, the gifts he took out just now were not worth 3 pills at all. If he refused, he was very reluctant. After all, there were a few junior brothers and juniors in the Heavenly Martial sect who had a good relationship with him. They also needed to use the 7 lives mysterious gate pill to pass the heart test of the 3-fold test in order to increase the Tang family's right to speak in the Heavenly Martial sect. Seeing that Ancestor Yuan was in a difficult position, Yu Haoren did not persuade him too much. He directly sent the 3 pills to Tang Yunjia and instructed, Senior Brother Tang, please accept these 3 7 lives profound gate pills on behalf of Senior. Tang Yunjia, who had a good relationship with Yu Haoren, obviously did not have so many concerns. After reaching out to take the 3 medicinal pills, he handed them directly to Ancestor Yuan. All right, seeing Yu Haoren use this method to let him accept the gift of the elixir, Ancestor Yuan finally nodded and took the elixir. At the same time, he also decided to give a gift that was enough to shock the entire Tianxin continent when Yu Haoren and Qin Lingfei got married. In just the second exchange, 6 of the 8 7 lives profound gate pills had already been given out. This caused everyone present to immediately become anxious. Knowing that he had made a mistake of underestimating the Sky Cloud sect, the Sky Cloud sect's expert added a few more treasures to the original foundation and planned to make an exchange. However, Lu Xianmin, who came from a number 1 puppet family in the Tianxin continent, beat him to it. Although the Flowing Cloud sect was one of the top 7 sects, it was still slightly inferior to the Lu family. Therefore, the Sky Cloud sect's expert could only watch helplessly as Lu Xianmin handed the storage pouch to Yu Haoren for the exchange. 1 puppet at the peak of the 7th level of the Sage Realm, 3 puppets at the beginning of the 1st level of the Sage Realm, and 6 puppets at the peak of the 9th level of the Emperor Realm. Looking at the number and quality of the puppets that Lu Xianmin gave for the exchange, Yu Haoren could not help but frown, because the value of these puppets could not be exchanged for a 7 lives profound gate pill. But he did not want to offend Lu Xianmin too much so that it would affect his subsequent plans. Just as Yu Haoren was in a dilemma, Thaling suddenly instructed in his sea of consciousness. Yu Haoren agreed to his deal and give him a medicinal pill. Why? Yu Haoren asked in confusion. Because I can use the Tao of formations to continue to improve the grade of these puppets, so that they can truly become your strongest help. Thaling explained with a smile. After receiving Thaling's explanation, Yu Haoren immediately made a decision in his heart. But thinking that Lu Xianmin clearly knew the true value of the 7 lives profound gate pill, but deliberately took out puppets that were not even half of the value of the pill, he did not want to take advantage of him so easily. Moreover, the magic tools that Zhou Fengxiu and Ancestor Yuan used to store treasures were storage rings, but he used storage pouches that did not match each other's identities at all. Obviously, he looked down on him. Therefore, looking up at Lu Xianmin, Yu Haoran could not help but sigh. His eyes showed hesitation as he glanced at Bailey Yueran and the others. The hesitation in his eyes immediately became firm. The change in Yu Haoran's eyes made Lu Xianmin's face change. While a trace of displeasure flashed in his eyes, he immediately said with a smile, "Yu Zongshi, I think you may not be satisfied with the treasures I just gave, but I'm really sorry. I didn't prepare enough in advance, so I can only take out these things for the time being." Speaking of this, Lu Xianmin patted his chest and promised, "However, Yu Zongshi, please don't worry. When I return to the Lu family, I will definitely give you a satisfactory explanation." Although his chest was thumping, according to Lu Xianmin's stingy use of the storage pouch just now, presumably his promise just now was not worth a fart. Therefore, Yu Haoran did not easily agree to the deal just because of the other party's promise. He still frowned and reminded him, "Senior Lu, don't you have some more precious spiritual flowers, spiritual herbs, and spiritual fruits in your hands?" This, although he was not asking for higher-grade puppets, the selfish Lu Xianmin was still unwilling to take out more treasures. Therefore, in the face of Yu Haoran's reminder, he seemed to be a little embarrassed. Forget it. Even some medicinal materials that could be used for alchemy were not willing to take out. Yu Haoran really saw through Lu Xianmin and the Lu family's character. At the same time, he felt extremely disappointed. At the same time, he also completely cut off the idea of cooperating with the other party in the future, or even continuing to deal with the other party. It seems that Senior is really embarrassed. This 7 lives mysterious gate pill is a gift from Junior to you. Although it was a gift, from Yu Haoran's indifferent expression and a strange tone, everyone present could see his strong dissatisfaction with Lu Xianmin. He was just afraid of the other party's puppet family background and did not want to offend too much. In this regard, Lu Xianmin did not care about Yu Haoran's attitude. As long as he could exchange for the 7 lives mysterious gate pill that he urgently needed at the lowest price, it was fine. Looking at Lu Xianmin, who was ecstatic to receive the 7 lives mysterious gate pill, Ancestor Yuan and Zhou Fengxiu could not help but shake their heads, and a trace of disgust flashed in their eyes. "Yu Zongshi, please take a look at the gift that Yueran gave you." Before the expert of the Flowing Clouds sect could speak, Bailey Yueran rushed directly to Yu Haoran and then handed a storage ring to him. Although he wanted to participate in the competition, he thought that Bailey Yueran was a powerful expert who was about to reach the level of Emperor Wu. The strength of the Bailey family was not inferior to the Flowing Clouds sect. Chapter 1204. In the Void of the Hungduan Mountain Range. A palm-sized Jade 1. 5-meter long blood dragon wood. A fist-sized red copper essence gold. A 10,000-year-old wood attribute cinnabar fruit. A third-order in 9th grade 9 crooked soul grass. And a third-order 5th grade purple Ganoderma spirit flower. Looking at the 6 top treasures in the storage ring given by Bailey Yueran, the value was no less than the treasures given by Ancestor Yuan and Zhou Fengxiu. Yu Haoran suddenly felt a little embarrassed. Because he only had 1 third-order 1st grade 7 lives profound gate pill left, which was not enough to exchange for the treasures given by Bailey Yueran. After thinking about it, Yu Haoran finally decided to refuse the deal with the other party, perhaps to let the other party take back part of the treasures. But before he could refuse, Bailey Yueran took the lead and said with a smile, "Yu Zongshi, you don't have to refuse, because I want to use 6 treasures in exchange for a 7 lives profound gate pill and a verbal promise from you." With a slight frown, Yu Haoran asked cautiously, "Senior Bailey, what kind of verbal promise is it?" Yu Zongshi, according to the alchemy ability you just showed when refining the 7 lives profound gate pill, You must have some confidence in refining the third-order first-grade Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill and the third-order first-grade Three-Striped Spirit Cleansing Pill. Without immediately saying the promise he wanted, Bailey Ueran asked with a smile. I'm not sure if I can refine 9 pills. Bailey Ueran's question made Howard vaguely guess the other party's real intention. While secretly relieved, he replied with a smile. But I'm still 90% sure that I can refine more than 3 pills. Then the verbal promise I need is that when you refine the Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill and the Three-Striped Spirit Cleansing Pill, I, Bailey Ueran, will be the first person qualified to trade with you. After receiving Howard's reply, Bailey Ueran was so excited that he immediately clenched his fists and immediately gave the verbal promise that he needed. At the same time, Ancestor Yuan and Zhou Fengxiu's eyes lit up. They immediately checked their storage space, looking for treasures that could be exchanged for Howard's verbal promise of giving priority to the elixir trade. No problem. From Bailey Ueran's action just now, Howard believed that even if the other party gave priority to the Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill and 3 marked Azure Spirit Pill, then the value of the treasures he took out would definitely not be low. Therefore, he nodded with a smile and gave his promise. After the Southern Region Hidden Dragon Rankings competition ends, if someone asks me to refine these 2 types of medicinal pills, then other than the medicinal pill that needs to be paid to the owner of the medicinal ingredients, starting from the second medicinal pill, you will be the first person qualified to make a deal with me. Thank you, Yu Zongshi. After receiving Howard's promise, Bailey Ueran thanked him even more excitedly. Boom, boom, boom. Just as Bailey Ueran finished thanking him, Lu Xianmin interrupted Zhou Fengxiu and the other's opportunity to speak by exploding 3 puppets at the peak of the 9th grade Martial Royal Realm. Then, in an instant, he rushed to Howard and said with a smile, Yu Zongshi, when I checked the storage space just now, I accidentally found that I had missed a puppet of the First Tribulation Quasi-Martial Venerable Realm. I want to use this puppet of the First Tribulation Quasi-Martial Venerable Realm in exchange for a promise from you. A promise that is ranked behind Brother Bailey. In the face of Lu Xianmin's shameless behavior, Howard could not help but sigh at how thick-skinned he was. He was even more disgusted and unwilling to answer him. Therefore, he looked past Lu Xianmin and directly at Ancestor Yuan and Zhou Fengxiu. Howard, our Heavenly Martial Sect will provide all the medicinal ingredients needed to refine the Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill and 3 marked Azure Spirit Pill, and then exchange them for the qualification of the second transaction. Ancestor Yuan said with a smile as he sent out a wooden box with spiritual medicine in front of Zhou Fengxiu. Okay. After reaching out to take the wooden box, Howard directly put it into the victor without checking it, and then nodded and promised. Seeing that Howard dared to ignore him, Lu Xianmin's face instantly darkened, and he questioned in a very unhappy tone. Yu Zongshi, are you really not going to give face to me and the Lu family? Senior Lu, face is earned by oneself, not given by others. In his heart, Howard's patience with Lu Xianmin had reached its limit, so in the face of his questioning, he unceremoniously retorted. If you can take out a puppet of the Venerable Realm now, then you can be ranked behind Senior Bailey and Senior Tong, and have the 3rd qualification to trade with me. Good, very good. The puppet of the Venerable Realm hid the real secret of Lu Yu's family's puppet technique. Not to mention that Lu Xianmin did not have the qualification to decide whether to trade. Even if he could, he would never agree to Howard's request. Therefore, in the face of Howard's ruthless attitude, Lu Xianmin said good twice in anger, and then sneered and threatened. Yu Zongshi, you must pay more attention to your safety when you go out for training in the future. Because maybe a tree, a rock, a beast, a blade of grass, or an ordinary stranger beside you will suddenly self-destruct. In the face of Lu Xianmin's very shameless threat, Howard's face instantly became gloomy, and he wondered whether to let Thowling use the means of the victor to kill the other party on the spot. Seeing the cold light flashing in Howard's eyes from time to time, and feeling the quietly moving position of Zhou Fengxiu and Ancestor Yuan, Lu Xianmin suddenly had the intention to leave. Using his mind to take out a snake-like puppet from the storage space, Lucianmin directly used his divine thoughts to control the puppet to tear the void in front of him, and then stepped into the void. Yu Zhongshe, the green mountains do not change. The green water flows forever. We will meet sooner or later. When the void torn by the puppet gradually closed, Lucianmin's provocative voice came from the void gap. Lucianmin, Lu family, I will remember. Looking at the void gap that was completely closed in front of him, Yu Haoran said, gnashing his teeth. Haoran, are you okay? Feeling the murderous aura constantly emitted from Yu Haoran, Qin Lingfei shook his arm with some worry and asked with concern. Reaching out and patting Qin Lingfei's hand to indicate that he was okay, Yu Haoran cupped his hands and said to the people present, Your Majesty, seniors, the continuous refining of elixirs has caused me to be very tired now, and I will temporarily return to Xianyang City to rest. Ignoring the response of the people present, Yu Haoran directly hugged Qin Lingfei's waist and sped up to fly to Xianyang City. Although Yu Haoran's hurried departure was slightly rude, the people present were not angry. Chapter 1205. Fragrant Sun City was about 30,000 kilometers away from Twin Bull Mountain. It was considered a border town in the central region. Fragrant Sun City had a population of less than 100,000. It didn't have any valuable specialties, nor did it have a beautiful environment. It was considered an ordinary small city without the slightest bit of fame. Fragrant Sun City was surrounded by mountains on 3 sides. There was a 36-meter wide river in the north. Although the river water was so clear that the bottom could be seen, there wasn't even an ordinary small fish. It gave people a strange feeling. Judging from the feng shui techniques recorded in the Arcane Master's Inheritance, Fragrant Sun City could be said to be a rare feng shui treasure land. But for some reason, Fragrant Sun City that occupied such a feng shui treasure land not only had very thin spiritual energy, it wasn't suitable for martial artists above the martial ancestor realm to cultivate. Moreover, there was a special aura in the city that made martial artists who stayed in the city for a long time feel upset and unable to cultivate in peace. Therefore, there were very few experts whose cultivation level exceeded the martial ancestor realm among the permanent residents of Fragrant Sun City. Looking at Fragrant Sun City that hadn't changed much from his previous life, Yu Haoran's eyes revealed a trace of expectation. Early heaven rank mystic fiend bewildering array. Just when Yu Haoran had just arrived at Fragrant Sun City, Thaling immediately felt that there was something wrong with the city in front of him. Relying on his attainments and formations and the inspection of his powerful divine sense, he quickly discovered the reason for the abnormality and quickly reminded Yu Haoran. Yu Haoran, this city in front of you is completely enveloped by the mystic fiend bewildering array. Not only will the spiritual energy within 1,000 kilometers be forcefully extracted to a specific location by the array, but a special power will also form in the city that disturbs the martial artist's mind. In the end, it will cause martial artists to be unable to stay in the city for long periods of time. Thaling, does the mystic fiend bewildering array affect ordinary people? Yu Haoran was overjoyed when he saw that the tower spirit was able to see through the strangeness of Fragrant Sun City so quickly. Because the depth of the mystic fiend bewildering array's effect on ordinary people would determine the severity of his next move. Yu Haoran, not only does the mystic fiend bewildering formation have no effect on ordinary people, but can instead calm down the violent emotions in their hearts, turning them into good people who stand aloof from worldly affairs. For some reason, Thaling's tone was filled with disdain when he introduced the effects of the Dark Fiend bewilderment formation on ordinary people. In response, Yu Haoran nodded his head in satisfaction. Then, he walked toward Fragrant Sun City. It was a little different from other cities. There were no guards at the gate of Fragrant Sun City, allowing pedestrians to enter and exit freely. After entering the city through the northern city gate, Yu Haoran immediately felt a very strange energy that constantly interfered with his emotions. However, in the face of the mental state of a martial honorable, the interference of the strange energy did not have any effect. Taking a deep breath, Howard carefully observed the layout of the city by relying on the memories of his previous life. Then, he went straight to the eastern district of Fragrant Sun City. Similarly, it was different from most cities. In the eastern district of Fragrant Sun City, the people who lived there were neither high officials nor nobles, nor experts with profound cultivation. Instead, it was a graveyard overgrown with weeds. Looking at the tens of thousands of tombstones in front of him, Howard did not rashly use his spiritual sense to check them. Instead, he quickly restrained his aura and began to carefully check the tombstones one by one. When he saw a tombstone with Zhang Xiaofan carved on it, his eyes could not help but light up. Taking out the earth spirit orb that Yi Junan had given him in order to save the original ancestor, Howard borrowed the earth energy emitted by the earth element orb to slowly merge his body into the tombstone. After passing through nearly 3 meters of hard soil, Howard came to the space where the coffin was placed. Although the space where the coffin was placed was not small, there were no burial items. There was only a coffin lying there quietly. Although it was dark in the enclosed space, for Howard, who had reached the middle 9th level of the Martial Saint realm, the black and white of the light had no effect on him. Xiao Chen's gaze swept across the coffin before him. Soon, he discovered a slightly protruding golden nail at the bottom of the coffin. He stretched out his hand and pressed down on the golden nail. Suddenly, the coffin that had been lying there quietly opened up, revealing a bottomless passageway. Howard, if you directly open the coffin, what will happen? Looking at Howard's series of actions just now, Thaling, who felt very interested, could not help but ask. If you open the coffin according to the normal procedure, you will only see the bones of a martial master and a poisonous gas that can kill an expert at the peak of the 9th level of the Martial Saint realm. Howard, who continued to maintain the action of restraining his aura, directly jumped into the coffin and answered. Good method. Not only does it have a profound concealment formation, but it also has the means to guard against ordinary tomb robbers. It can be said that it is a mixture of truth and falsehood. After hearing Howard's answer, Thaling sincerely praised. If you don't know the situation in advance, I'm afraid that it will be very difficult to find the true location of those people's nest. Thaling, this is also the important reason why they have been passed down for hundreds of thousands of years without being discovered. Howard added with deep feelings. The passage in the coffin was not only dark and oppressive, but also more than 100 miles deep. Every 100 meters, or even 1,000 meters, there were hidden mechanisms. Among these hidden mechanisms, there were strong poisons that could kill a peak 9th level of the Martial Saint realm, and there were also warnings for some people at the end of the passage. Therefore, Howard did not dare to use martial arts easily. He could only carefully walk forward, trying to avoid triggering the hidden mechanisms in the passage. After spending almost 5 hours, Howard finally arrived at the end of the passage. Howard did not immediately rush to the end of the passage. Instead, he stood in place and waited for a while. When he suddenly heard the squeaking of a rat not far away, he immediately rushed to the front of a giant rat that was about 70 centimeters tall and more than 3 meters long. Relying on his strong physical body, Howard immediately took out a pill that could be used to control the giant rat's mind from his storage ring and forced it into its mouth. Thaling, control the victor to possess the giant rat's body. I will control the giant rat to enter the end of the passage. Howard's mind touched the imprint in his sea of consciousness. After entering the victor, he ordered Thaling, who was standing in his sea of consciousness. Got it. After returning to the victor, Thaling nodded and immediately controlled the victor to shrink in size. Then, it directly attached itself to the giant rat's fur. His 10 fingers formed a seal to wake up the unconscious giant rat. Howard ordered it to enter the end of the passage. Chapter 1206. Paradise. At the end of the passageway was a vast expanse of white mist. The endless palaces were all shrouded by a spiritual rain and mist. They were both real and illusory, making it difficult to see clearly. The land, shrouded in spiritual rain mist, was covered with countless precious flowers and herbs, giving people the illusion that they had accidentally entered a paradise. No wonder the spiritual energy here is so dense. Thowling exclaimed after the giant rat brought the victor to the end of the passage and looked at the beautiful scenery in front of him. It turns out that all the spiritual energy in the entire feng shui treasure land has been sucked here. The people of the thief sect are ruthless, vicious, and cunning. Yu Haoran did not comment on Thowling's exclamation. That was because he was controlling the giant rat's consciousness and looking for the path to the treasure according to the memory of entering the thief sect in his previous life. In his previous life, he and the void spirit rat had accidentally entered the thief sect's mountain gate to escape the pursuit of a strange beast. Being able to enter the treasure house in the end was also due to luck. That was why he did not have a deep impression of the specific path to the treasure house. After spending almost an hour and changing the buildings in 5 different areas, Yu Haoran still could not find a familiar building that could be separated from his memory. Not only did this make him anxious, but it also made Thowling in his mind impatient. Directly mobilizing 3% of the victor's power to assist Emperor Wu's powerful spiritual sense, Thowling took a risk and used his spiritual sense to observe the mountain gate that could not be seen with the naked eye. Yu Haoran controlled the giant rat to not move around. The tower spirit extended its divine sense to cover an area of nearly 1,000 miles. But not only did it not reach the end of the mountain gate, it did not even find a single elite or disciple of the thief sect. This made the tower spirit feel that something was not right. After hearing Thowling's reminder, Yu Haoran quickly controlled the giant rat to scurry under a jade pine tree, then quietly crawled under the tree. Reverse 5 elements, 9 bends formation. Thowling continued to take the risk of extending his divine sense to a range of nearly 10,000 miles. Finally, he understood why he felt that something was amiss. That was because the space at the end of the passageway was too vast. It had far exceeded the area and range of the thief god sect. This was obviously not normal. Therefore, Thowling withdrew his extended divine sense and began to carefully observe his surroundings, including a large number of buildings and spirit rain clouds. Finally, he found a strange place where the godly thief sect's mountain gate was located. Reverse 5 elements, 9 bends formation. When he heard Thowling mention the array, Yu Haoran vaguely felt that it was somewhat familiar, as if he had seen it before in his previous life. But because it was too long ago, he couldn't remember it for a while. Yu Haoran, the so-called 5 elements reversal 9 bends formation, is not a complete formation. It is a combination of the early heaven stage black and white reversal formation, the middle heaven stage 5 elements death trap formation, and the high heaven stage 9 bends yellow river formation. The 5 elements reversal 9 bends formation can be said to be a compound formation that combines a death trap formation, a maze formation, a killing formation, and a defensive formation. Its power is close to the limit of a heaven stage formation. Seeing that Yu Haoran was immersed in his memories, Thowling knew that he must have seen or heard of the array in his previous life. He hurriedly reminded him in detail. Thowling wasn't the 5 elements reversal 9 bends formation created by the prime of Tong Tian, who was known as the #1 formation master during the Middle Ages. Thowling's detailed reminder made Yu Haoran finally recall the memory of the 5 elements reversal 9 bends formation. He hurriedly asked. When he heard Yu Haoran mention the prime of Tong Tian, Thowling suddenly shouted emotionally, "Yu Haoran, quickly tell me, how did you know that the 5 elements reversal 9 bends formation was created by the prime of Tong Tian in a ruin in the misty forest?" Although he didn't know why Thowling suddenly became so emotional, Yu Haoran controlled his temper and didn't ask too much, only telling the truth. Yu Haoran, were there 4 very special types of sword chi in that ruin? Thowling continued to ask. No. Shaking his head, Yu Haoran carefully thought about it, then explained in detail. In my previous life, the Void Spirit Mouse and I accidentally entered that ruin in order to escape the pursuit of an exotic beast with the bloodline of a cat. The space in that ruin was very large, and there were fatal formations and mechanisms hidden everywhere. It could be said to be very dangerous. At that time, my cultivation had only just broken through to the Martial Emperor realm. So, the Void Spirit Mouse and I didn't dare to stay in that ruin for too long. Relying on the Void Spirit Mouse's innate sensitivity towards treasures, we found a talisman that could teleport us tens of thousands of miles in a courtyard at the edge of the ruin, as well as a jade slip that recorded the 5 elements reversal 9 bends formation. With the help of the teleportation jade slip, we safely left that ruin. In the jade slip that recorded the 5 elements reversal 9 bends formation, it inadvertently mentioned the creator of the formation, Tongtian sect leader. After hearing Yuhauran's detailed explanation, Faling was silent for a while, then asked with a slightly nervous expression, "Yuhauran, if you return to the Misty Forest, can you still find that ruin? More or less?" Carefully thinking about the process of entering that ruin in his previous life, Yuhauran nodded and said, "At that time, in order to be able to leave the Misty Forest smoothly, I left a special mark every 100 miles or so. I should have a 70% chance of finding that ruin again." Hearing that Yuhauran had a 70% chance of finding that ruin again, Faling immediately requested, "Yuhauran, after the 5 regions hidden dragon ranking competition ends, your cultivation will definitely be able to break through to the Martial Saint realm. I hope that at that time, you can put down everything at hand and take me to the Misty Forest to find that ruin again." After hearing Faling's request, Yuhauran slightly frowned and reminded him, "Faling, didn't we already agree? After the 5 regions hidden dragon ranking competition ends, we will first go to the core area of the Death Swamp and seize the immortal wood vine that contains the origin of wood. Yuhauran, we can temporarily put the matter of the immortal wood vine aside. The ruin in the Misty Forest is of the utmost importance." In response to Yuhauran's reminder, Faling did not hesitate in the slightest to choose to first search for that ruin. This made Yuhauran very suspicious of his relationship with Tongtian. As if he had guessed that Yuhauran wanted to know something, Faling blocked his opportunity to ask in advance. "Yuhauran, don't say anything, don't say anything. When we return to the ruin in the Misty Forest, I will tell you everything in full detail." Even the opportunity to speak was directly blocked by Faling. Yuhauran could only helplessly give up the idea of asking. Soon after, he pointed at the space in front of him that was enveloped by the formation and asked, "Faling, can you break the 5 elements reversal 9 bends formation?" Seeing that Yuhauran was no longer entangled in his relationship with Tongtian, Faling secretly let out a sigh of relief. As for whether or not he could break the 5 elements reversal 9 bends formation that enveloped this space, Faling chuckled and spoke with valiant confidence. Chapter 1207. Kawinjong. Inside the mountain gate of the Pickpocket sect, looking at the magnificent 6-story treasure vault that was about 100 meters tall, Yuhauran secretly let out a sigh of relief. At the same time, his heart was filled with uncontrollable ecstasy. In order to give Qin Lingfei an unforgettable wedding, he had been running around, desperately collecting precious treasures. However, he was still not very satisfied with the final result. Although there were many relics and forbidden areas with precious treasures in his memory, those relics and forbidden areas were either too far away from Xianyang City, where he could not safely enter them with his current strength. After thinking about it, he finally thought of the little old man who had sneak attacked him in the Green Flame's secret realm, and then he thought of the rare treasures collected in the Pickpocket sect's treasure vault. With the special way of survival of the Pickpocket sect and their hundreds of thousands of years of collection, they could definitely meet his highest requirements for wedding treasures. Faling, check the surroundings of the treasure vault and see if there are any hidden guardians. After adjusting his ecstasy through rhythmic breathing, Yuhauran did not rashly leave the victor. After all, as the most important position of an inherited sect, the Pickpocket sect would definitely send a top expert to guard the treasure vault. Therefore, he needed to let Faling observe the surroundings first. On the east and west sides of the treasure vault, There are peerless experts at the peak of the third-grade martial revered realm. In the spiritual fog, directly above the treasure vault, there's a powerful expert who has just broken through to the level of Emperor Wu. With the help of his familiarity with the 5 elements reversal 9 tunes formation, Thowling did not need to mobilize any energy of the victor and easily found the hidden guardians around the treasure vault. Thowling, can you quietly sneak into the treasure vault? After hearing the number and strength of the guardians, Yuhauran immediately extinguished the idea of killing them and swaggering into the treasure vault. It's a little troublesome. Thowling frowned and explained. Using the illusion of the 5 elements 9 bends reversal formation, I'm confident that I can safely rush to the entrance of the treasury without alerting the 3 guardians. However, from the aura emanating from the door of the treasury, it means that the entire treasury is also protected by a profound formation. I don't have any confidence that I can break the formation before the guardian discovers me. Yuhauran could not kill the enemy in one hit, and he could not sneak into the treasury silently. Looking at the 6th floor of the treasury, right in front of him, Yuhauran immediately felt a headache coming on. After pondering for nearly 10 minutes, Thowling realized that the thief door's protection of the treasure vault was flawless. Apart from using brute force, there was no other way to enter the treasure vault without alerting the guardians. Therefore, he suddenly felt very puzzled about how Yuhauran and the empty spirit mouse had been able to sneak into the treasury without anyone noticing. After hearing Thowling's question, Yuhauran's eyes lit up. He immediately controlled the giant mouse to move a distance away from the treasury and touched the mark with his mind to leave Victor's space. Immediately after, he took out the Earth Spirit Pearl and used the earth energy emitted by the Earth Spirit Pearl to merge into the ground and successfully reach the bottom of the treasury. Thowling, can you open a corner of the formation to enter the treasury without alerting the guardians? Yuhauran asked expectantly as he looked at the empty formation energy that covered nearly 3 meters underground. I'll try. To be able to successfully arrange the 5 elements 9 bends reversal formation that was at the peak of the heaven rank, it meant that the thief door had a powerhouse whose formation cultivation exceeded the realm of the great grandmaster and reached the realm of the formation emperor. Generally, a formation powerhouse of this realm would integrate their own understanding of the formation into the formation arranged in important positions. Opening a corner of the formation without alerting the 3 guardians was much more difficult than directly breaking the formation. This was also the main reason why Thowling was not very confident when he answered Yuhauran's question. After spending nearly 2 hours, Thowling finally relied on his powerful formation cultivation to quietly tear a gap in the formation without alerting the 3 guardians of the treasury, allowing Yuhauran to enter the treasury smoothly. After successfully sneaking into the 1st floor of the treasury, Yuhauran's first reaction was neither joy nor disappointment. Instead, he was stunned. Yuhauran, what's wrong with you? Looking at the normal environment in front of him, Thowling was puzzled by Yuhauran's sudden stunned reaction. Thowling's reminder woke Yuhauran up from his daze. He then frowned and asked, Thowling, after the demon god's ancient tomb self-destructs, does it change the quality and quantity of some objects? What do you mean? Thowling asked even more confusedly. In my previous life, I entered the 1st floor of the treasury with the empty spirit mouse. Facing Thowling's question, Yuhauran pointed to the wooden shells on the west side of the 1st floor of the treasury. There were 99 spirit veins with talismans pasted on them. At that time, there were 99 wooden boxes on these wooden shelves. Inside these wooden boxes were spirit stones from rank 5 to rank 6. Moving his finger to the wooden shelves on the east side, Yuhauran looked at the 36 spirit veins with talismans pasted on them and continued. On these wooden shelves, there were 36 wooden boxes. Inside these wooden boxes were top spirit stones from rank 3 to rank 4. Why did the spirit stones in my previous life become spirit veins in this life? After hearing the real reason why Yuhauran was stunned, Thowling immediately explained with a smile. Yuhauran, after the demon god's ancient tomb self-destructs, While greatly increasing the cultivation and strength of a martial artist, it will also expand their scope of experience and enhance their vision of treasures. So, it is normal for the spirit stones in my previous life to be replaced by the spirit veins in this life. Although Thaling's explanation seemed reasonable, Yuhauran always felt that something was not right, but no matter how he thought about it, he could not figure it out. Considering that the powerhouses of the thief sect could enter the treasury at any time, Yuhauran quickly adjusted his emotions and then began to collect the spirit veins on the first floor of the treasury. The 99 spirit veins placed on the wooden shelves on the west side were all spirit veins from rank 7 low grade to top grade. They were more suitable for the second doppelganger to set up a formation that gathered the spirit energy of heaven and earth. So Yuhauran put them all into the victor. The 36 spirit veins placed on the wooden shelves on the east side were all spirit veins from rank 6 low grade to top grade. They were suitable for setting up a formation and also for assisting cultivation. So he divided half of them into the victor and put the remaining half into the storage ring. Then, he looked at the deepest part of the first floor of the treasury, where 4 spirit veins and a wooden box were placed on the jade platform. Yuhauran walked to the front of the jade platform and picked up one of the shorter spirit veins. Before he had time to examine it carefully, Thaling in his knowledge, immediately shouted in surprise. Chapter 1208. Thief Sect, First Floor of the Treasury. As for the remaining 3 spirit veins, they are of the middle, upper, and top grade of the 5th level. According to the different locations of the spirit veins, Yuhauran had already guessed the grades of the 4 spirit veins on the jade platform. However, after getting the confirmation from Thaling, he still couldn't control the ecstasy in his heart. After all, once the spirit veins reached the 5th level, not only would the quality of the spirit chi in them change, but there was also a great chance that crystal marrow would be formed. Even though his cultivation had reached the middle 9th level of the martial saint realm, and his strength was infinitely close to the martial saint realm, crystal marrow still had the powerful effect of changing his physique and increasing his cultivation and strength. More importantly, if the second clone used the 5th level spirit vein as the eye of the formation and supplemented it with 9 top grade of the 6th level spirit veins, then wouldn't the cave abode be comparable to the immortal realm? Fortunately, when he returned to Xianyang City, he could use the prince's mansion that Emperor Qin had given to him as a reward for his experiments. After happily storing the 4 5th level spirit veins into the victor, Yuhauran's gaze immediately turned to the wooden box on the jade platform. The wooden box wasn't very big and was about the size of a girl's dressing box to store gold and silver jewelry. Reaching out to open the wooden box, a stream of pure spirit chi that could make the spirit in his dantian boil and the sea of consciousness tremble immediately rushed out of the wooden box. Without the slightest hesitation, Yuhauran quickly closed the box and used his self-created Heavenly Mandate Heart Sutra to absorb the pure spirit chi that had just emerged. This was to prevent the pure spirit chi that had emerged from the wooden box from alarming the guardian of the treasury. After absorbing the pure spirit chi with the Heavenly Will mantra, with the help of the Pill Tribulation of the 7 Lives Profound Pill Sect and the reward of the Heavenly Tao, he directly reached the peak of the 9th level of the martial saint realm. Yuhauran, there is no room for negotiation. Give me half of the 1st level spirit chi in the wooden box. Thaling said firmly as he tightly hugged the wooden box on the jade platform and stored it into the victor with his powerful spirit sense. Okay. Yuhauran nodded in agreement as he tried his best to suppress the aura fluctuations caused by his breakthrough. Just the pure spiritual chi that leaked out was enough for him to reach the peak of the 9th grade martial saint realm. What if he directly absorbed the pure spiritual liquid within the spirit stone? In that case, the increase in cultivation and realm would probably reach an unimaginable level. And this was only the powerful effect of a 2nd stage, 1st grade spirit stone. What if it was a higher grade level 2 spirit stone? It just so happened that Yuhauran knew that there were 7 2nd stage 9th grade spirit stones stored in a cave in the dense fog forest. That was why he readily agreed to Thaling's request to split the loot in half. After getting Yu Howren's approval, Thaling reopened the box and carefully counted the number of second-stage first-grade spirit stones in the wooden box. He was ecstatic to find that there were 24 of them. "Thaling, I only need 8 second-stage first-grade spirit stones. The rest of the spirit stones are all yours." Although he knew that there were second-stage first-grade spirit stones in the wooden box on the jade platform in the depths of the treasury in his previous life, he was limited by his knowledge at that time and the time he stayed in the treasury, so he didn't know the exact number of spirit stones. According to his understanding of second-stage spirit stones' rarity, he estimated that there were at most 10 spirit stones in the wooden box. But the result was out of his expectations. According to the effect of absorbing the pure spiritual chi that leaked out, he estimated that 6 second-stage first-grade spirit stones would be enough for his cultivation to reach the peak of the 9th-grade martial saint realm. At that time, with the help of the 7 second-stage 9th-grade spirit stones in the dense fog forest, his cultivation, physical body, and soul would break through the Emperor Wu's realm in just a matter of time. Therefore, in order to allow Thaling's cultivation to recover faster and ensure that his cultivation and strength could increase quickly, he finally decided that he only needed 8 second-stage first-grade spirit stones. "Yu Howren, thank you." The effect of the pure spirit liquid contained in a first-grade, second-grade spirit stone was far more effective in increasing the cultivation of the spirit than origin power. Its healing effect on the injuries to his spirit was not inferior to the best healing pills. If he could absorb the spiritual liquid of 16 second-stage first-grade spirit stones, his soul cultivation would almost be able to reach the peak of the 9th-grade Emperor Wu. This would be of great help to Yu Howren when he ventured into the dense fog forest and the death swamp in the future. After rechecking the corners of the first level of the treasury and making sure that there was nothing left, Yu Howren carefully went up the stairs to the second level of the treasury. Compared to the previous treasury, the second level of the thief sect treasury not only stored medicinal herbs, but also very few in number. However, when he opened the first wooden box on the west side of the wooden shelf, his heart suddenly surged with joy. Third stage, 5th grade soul, infant flower. After the pleasant surprise, looking at the soul infant flower in the wooden box, Yu Howren suddenly remembered that he had promised the snake beauty Ru Yin and Ru Yun to use the 5th stage first grade soul infant flower to refine an elixir for Ru Yun to recover her damaged foundation. Although he had been too busy and had forgotten about it, why hadn't Ru Yin and Ru Yun, who had left Qingyan Peak, come to find him? After all, they were just ordinary people who had met by chance and didn't have too much emotional entanglement. Therefore, Yu Howren shook his head and suppressed the matter of Ru Yin and Ru Yun in the bottom of his heart. Then, he put away the wooden box containing the 3rd stage 5th grade soul infant flower and continued to look at the second wooden box. 3rd stage 5th grade sky scorpion flower. Seeing that the second elixir in the wooden box was actually a sky scorpion flower that could increase one's cultivation of poison, Yu Howren's heart was even more joyful. Because this 3rd stage 5th grade sky scorpion flower was enough to allow his first disciple Yunxiang and second disciple Feng Man's cultivation of poison to reach the martial grandmaster realm at the same time. With the help of Yunxiang's soul devouring poison body and the black slow poison in Feng Man's body, as long as their poison Dao cultivation broke through to the great grandmaster realm, unless a martial honorable or martial emperor realm expert made a move, they would not be able to survive. Otherwise, there were very few people in this world who could harm them. After putting away the 3rd stage 5th grade sky scorpion flower in the wooden box, Yu Howren's gaze turned to the 3rd wooden box. "Yu Howren, neither you nor I can predict whether the experts of the thief sect will suddenly decide to enter the treasury. Therefore, checking them one by one like you is a waste of time and will also increase many variables." Seeing Yu Howren reach out to open the 3rd wooden box on the wooden shelf and look up at the hundreds of wooden and jade boxes in the treasury, Thaling frowned and reminded him. Why don't I put all these wooden and jade boxes into the Victor and then use the ability of time acceleration to give you enough time to choose an appropriate elixir for the wedding? Chapter 1209. It seemed that the fifth chapter would have to be delayed until the evening. Thief Sect, second floor of the Treasury. Okay. Howard nodded in agreement to Thalling's reminder. He withdrew his left hand from the wooden box and touched the mark in his mind. His body entered the Victor. After Howard's body entered the Victor, Thalling secretly used his mind to store all the wooden and jade boxes in the Victor. He then used 1% of the Victor's energy to accelerate the time in the outside world for 1 year. With the guarantee of sufficient time, Howard was even more patient to check them one by one. After spending almost half a day, he finally finished inspecting the 365 wooden and jade boxes. Looking at the rearranged wooden boxes, Howard's eyes were filled with shock and joy. He could not calm down for a long time. Of the medicinal herbs stored in the 365 wooden and jade boxes, the 3 lowest grade medicinal herbs had reached the first grade of the 3rd level, while the 5 highest grade medicinal herbs had reached the 7th grade of the 2nd level. Other than the high grades of the herbs, what surprised Howard the most was that the quality of the 365 herbs was not low either. Among them, there was the first level 2 5 colors mushroom that could be used as a wedding gift to increase one's cultivation and strength. There was also the 7 Suns life fruit that could extend one's lifespan by 1,000 years. Moreover, he had always planned to find the 1 heart snow lotus seed and 4 directions autumn leaf to refine the 9 tribulations pill after the 5 regions hidden dragon ranking competition. Now, as long as he found the 7 stars bug and 9 resurrection grass, he could use the nothingness pill condensation technique to refine the 9 tribulations pill and speed up his breakthrough to the martial venerable realm. Howard waved his hand and put away the dozens of herbs that he could use. He left the remaining 300 or so herbs in the Victor. He left the Victor and returned to the 2nd floor of the Treasury. He carefully checked every corner of the 2nd floor of the Treasury. After making sure that he did not miss anything, he went up the stairs to the 3rd floor of the Treasury. Similar to the herbs on the 2nd floor of the Treasury, there were not many pill bottles on the 3rd floor. There were less than 100 bottles. However, among the less than 100 bottles of pills, Howard discovered that there were 13 types of pills that he did not have the ability to refine for the time being. Moreover, there were 4 types of pills that he had never heard of. He signaled the Tower Genie to store all the pill bottles on the 3rd floor of the Treasury into the Tower Genie. He planned to wait until he left the Thief Sect's Treasury before he gave the 4 types of pills he had never heard of before to his first doppelganger. He wanted to analyze the ingredients of the pills and see if he could deduce the effects and pill formulas of the 4 types of pills. After making 2, use Victor to the 4th floor of the Victor. The dazzling light, as well as the sharp slaughter energy, caused Howard to activate the defense of the ancestral wizard's body at the first instant. After his vision and body adapted to the environment on the 4th floor of the Treasury, Howard felt the smile on his face become a little stiff. Just like the previous Treasury, the layout of the 4th floor of the Victor Sect Treasury was on the east side and refining materials on the west side. Therefore, there was no need to remind each other at all. Howard went straight to the jade platform on the east side of the Treasury where the artifacts were placed. Thalling left the space of his sea of consciousness and went straight to the refining materials that were casually piled on the wooden shelves and the ground. Sabers, spears, swords, halberds, axes, battle axes, hooks, and tridents. There were more than 330 types of artifacts on the 4th floor of the Victor Sect's Treasury. Not only was there a complete variety, but all the artifacts were of high grades. Among them, the 3 lowest grade artifacts were only low-grade Emperor artifacts. Most of them were high-grade Saint artifacts or supreme grade artifacts. He did a careful calculation. If he counted the number and grades of artifacts he had collected in the past and combined them with the artifacts in front of him, the grade of the Rui Bell could be directly promoted to high-grade Saint artifacts. With the invincible quality of the Rui Bell He could almost ignore any attack from a Third Tribulation quasi-martial venerable expert with the help of the Rui Bell's strong defensive power. He didn't dare to rashly use his divine consciousness to sweep up all the artifacts. He could only use his mind to put them away one by one. After spending nearly 10 minutes, he finally managed to put all the artifacts into the storage ring that stored them separately. He wanted to remind Thaling to hurry up and check the refining materials, but when he turned his head to look, he found that Thaling had already put all the refining materials into the Victor. After checking that there were no omissions, he went up the stairs to the 5th floor of the treasury. Looking at the hundreds of books and thousands of jade slips on the wooden shelves, Yu Haoran didn't check them one by one. He directly motioned for Thaling to put them all into the Victor and then reorganize them for him. Then, he turned his head to look at the stairs that led to the 6th floor of the treasury. His eyes were full of anticipation. In his previous life, the reason why he couldn't stay in the treasury of the Thief Sect was mainly because the experts of the Thief Sect happened to open the defensive formation that led to the 6th floor of the treasury. This caused the aura of the venerable and emperor-level artifacts on the 6th floor of the treasury to leak out. In the end, they were forced to escape the treasury. Now, not only did he have Thaling, who was proficient in formations and refining artifacts, but his own strength was also infinitely close to the martial venerable realm. He could completely rely on his own strength to resist the aura of the venerable and emperor-level artifacts. Thaling, I'll have to trouble you. Yu Haoran motioned to him as he pointed to the defensive formation that led to the 6th floor of the treasury. Give me 5 minutes. Thaling nodded and directly left the space of the sea of consciousness. After carefully checking the defensive formation in front of him, he gave Yu Haoran time to wait. Once the 5 minutes were up, Thaling, who had returned to the space of the sea of consciousness, reminded him with a solemn expression. Yu Haoran, when I was breaking the defensive formation just now, I felt that there were 7 venerable and 3 emperor-level artifacts on the 6th floor of the treasury. In order to prevent the aura of the 10 venerable and emperor-level artifact from alerting the guardians of the treasury, you must enter the treasury the moment the defensive formation is broken. Thaling, I know. Yu Haoran nodded and replied with a solemn expression. This was because he knew that the collection on the 6th floor of the treasury was the same as the spiritual vein on the 1st floor of the treasury. It had undergone earth-shattering changes. He didn't know if he could resist the aura of the 10 artifacts. I'm going to do it. After reminding him, Thaling formed a seal with his 10 fingers and roared. Open. Along with the roar, the formation that led to the 6th floor of the treasury was quickly torn into a gap that was less than 10 centimeters wide. Without the slightest hesitation, Yu Haoran instantly entered the 6th floor of the treasury just as the gap appeared and the aura of the artifacts was about to leak out. Puff! Before he could stabilize his body, the aura of the 7 venerable and 3 emperor-level artifacts directly slammed Yu Haoran back into the energy shield formed by the formation. The strong rebound force caused Yu Haoran to spit out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 1210. On the 6th floor of the Thief Sect's treasure vault, with the defense set up by Thaling's divine sense, Yu Haoran finally stabilized his body after successfully offsetting the pressure of the weapons. When he activated the defense of the ancestral witch's body, he mobilized the Rui Bell in his soul to form a second layer of defense. After that, he reached out to wipe the remaining blood at the corner of his mouth and ordered Thaling in his sea of consciousness. Thaling, remove the defense of your divine sense. All right. Although he had the double defense of the ancestral witch's body and the Rui Bell, Thaling was still worried that he would not be able to withstand the terrifying pressure of 7 venerable realm and 3 emperor realm weapons. However, when he saw Yu Haoran's determined expression, he finally sighed and slowly removed the defense of his divine sense. An unimaginably terrifying pressure made Yu Haoran's legs bend slightly, but his tenacious willpower made him grit his teeth and hold on. He looked up at the 10 weapons on the 6th floor of the treasure vault that were emitting the power of weapons. 3 venerable realm swords and 1 emperor realm sword. 2 venerable realm sabers, and 1 emperor realm sword. An venerable realm staff weapon that was about the same length as a purple staff but was pure white in color. A silver-white venerable realm glove. An emperor realm black pearl that emitted the most terrifying power of weapons. Thaling, with your skills, can you take all of these venerable realm and emperor realm weapons into the victor? At this moment, he could barely withstand the power of the 10 weapons, mainly because of 2 reasons. First, he was more than 20 meters away from the 10 weapons and could not withstand the strongest power of the weapons. Second, the weapon spirits of the 10 weapons were still in a state of deep sleep and had not really activated the true power of the venerable realm and emperor realm weapons. If he continued to take the risk to get closer, he would not be able to withstand the strongest power of the weapons and would easily disturb the sleeping weapon spirits. Therefore, if he wanted to take all of the venerable realm and emperor realm weapons, he would need a stronger Thaling. After hearing Yuhauran's question, Thaling thought about it carefully and finally decided to use all of the victor's strength to take the risk. However, putting away 10 Exalt Realm and Emperor Realm artifacts at the same time would definitely cause a huge commotion. It would also alarm the guardians of the treasury. In that way, he wouldn't be able to continue staying in the treasury. Therefore, he had to remind Yuhauran to take the other 11 treasures before he took the 10 Exalted Realm and Emperor Realm treasures. Nodding his head in agreement with Thaling's suggestion, Yuhauran looked directly at the second jade platform. This was because an Exalted Realm sword was placed on the first jade pedestal. On the second jade platform was a pill bottle, but this pill bottle was very different from a normal pill bottle, whether it was the color or the size of the pill bottle. Thaling, please use your divine sense to set up a layer of defense for me. With just 3 steps forward, Yuhauran could vaguely feel that the body of the ancestral wizard was about to collapse. In desperation, he could only ask for help from Thaling in his knowledge sea. Nodding, Thaling immediately used all of his divine sense to help him set up the strongest layer of defense. After all, there were several treasures very close to the 3 Emperor Realm artifacts. An ordinary divine sense defense couldn't resist the terrifying power emitted by the artifacts. With the help of Thaling's divine sense defense, Yuhauran easily walked to the second jade platform. With the methods of the Thief God sect and the terrifying suppression of the 10 Exalt Realm and Emperor Realm artifacts, he believed that there would be no evil things in the 6th floor of the treasury. Therefore, without any hesitation, he reached out and picked up the pill bottle on the jade platform. When he opened the pill bottle and saw the 3 drops of elixir essence inside, Yuhauran's heart immediately surged with uncontrollable joy. Myriad drug milk. It was the same method used to refine the 1,000 drug milk. The essence of 10,000 herbs was collected and then refined for nearly 100 years to finally form a drop of myriad drug milk. If he directly swallowed a drop of myriad drug milk at this moment, not only would his potential undergo earth-shaking changes, but his yuan qi, physical body, and soul would also have a great chance to directly break through to the martial revered realm. Of course, with his methods, it was impossible to directly use the myriad drug milk to improve his cultivation. This was because he would use the 1,000 drug milk and myriad drug milk, and then combine it with 36 3rd grade, 1st grade to 9th grade herbs to refine an immortal pill that could shake the entire Tianxian continent and cause all martial revered and Emperor Wu masters to madly compete for it. Happily putting away the pill bottle, Yuhauran's gaze turned to the 3rd jade platform, and then a happy smile appeared on his face. Yuhauran, this blue dress seems to have been made by the heavenly palace master of the Middle Ages, great Emperor Hao Yan. In order to celebrate the marriage of his most valued daughter, Heavenly Maiden Qing Xian, he ordered the number 1 artifact refining grandmaster at that time, Taoist Yin Zhong, to spend a full 10 years refining this wide-sleeved, flowing immortal dress. Thaling also noticed the blue dress placed on the 3rd jade platform and vaguely felt that it was somewhat familiar. Gently sweeping the blue dress with his divine sense, he felt that it was light and elegant, as well as the complex and ever-changing spirit arrays inside. He couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised as he explained to Yu Haoran. Yu Haoran, although that girl, Ling Fei, is not the daughter of the heavenly emperor of the Middle Ages, she is still the princess of an emperor. So, this wide-sleeved, flowing immortal dress is just right for her. Stepping forward to the third jade platform, Yang Kai reached out and picked up the blue dress. A trace of special emotional connection made him truly fall in love with this wide-sleeved, flowing immortal dress. Thaling, how high is the grade of this wide-sleeved, flowing immortal dress? How strong is its defensive power? Yu Haoran, the #1 artifact refining Grandmaster of the Middle Ages, spent a full 10 years refining this defensive Dharma artifact. How high do you think its grade will be? Thaling asked with a smile in response to Yu Haoran's inquiry. Could it be a divine artifact? Yu Haoran guessed, in ecstasy. That's right. While nodding to confirm, Thaling suddenly sighed and said in a somewhat sad tone, the wide-sleeved, flowing immortal dress was originally one of the top divine artifacts of the Middle Ages, but the Middle Ages Celestial Palace had once suffered a disastrous disaster. Heavenly Lady Qing Xian and her husband both died in that disaster, and the grade of the wide-sleeved, flowing immortal dress was also knocked down to the superior grade of the supreme stage. Since the ancient times until now, the number of famous artifact masters who had died was uncountable, so Yu Haoran did not feel much about Thaling's sadness. Now, he just wanted to know if the wide-sleeved, flowing immortal dress could be restored to the grade of a divine artifact. Of course it can. Thaling nodded. His gaze fell on the wide-sleeved, flowing immortal dress and said with a smile, as long as that girl, Ling Fei, forms a special contract with a wide-sleeved, flowing immortal dress through the method of blood ownership, then this wide-sleeved, flowing immortal dress will gradually be restored to its previous grade along with Ling Fei's breakthrough in cultivation. Chapter 12:11. Thief Sect, 6th Floor of the Treasury. Thaling, compared to Taoist Yunzhong of the Middle Ages, which one of your refining techniques is stronger and which one is weaker? With the help of the blood contract, he could restore the original level of a divine artifact. After hearing the Tower Spirit's explanation, Yu Haoran happily put away the wide-sleeved fairy dress. At the same time, he also developed a strong interest in Taoist Yunzhong's refining ability. Moreover, when Thaling mentioned Taoist Yunzhong just now, both his expression and tone revealed a hint of respect, which made him even more curious. He's strong, Thaling said with a solemn expression, neither overly modest nor unduly belittling himself. Yu Haoran, you can say that Taoist Cloud, amidst all the artificers I've seen in the past countless years, he is the most meticulous, the most talented, the most creative, and the most all-round artificers. He is also the one who is most obsessed with artificing. Regardless of whether it's an offensive or defensive magic weapon, regardless of whether it's a grand grade magic weapon that has just entered the grade, or a primordial treasure comparable to the beginning of the world in ancient times. As long as it's Taoist Yunzhong who makes a move, not only will he pursue the most perfect refining results, but he will also combine the warrior's physique and fighting habits to make the refined magic weapon more suitable for the warrior. Compared to Taoist Yunzhong, Thaling, still have a long way to go when it comes to refining weapons. Hearing Thaling's praise for Taoist Yunzhong, Yu Haoran was also filled with admiration, but his attention was soon attracted by a beast egg placed on the 5th jade platform. The beast egg placed on the jade platform was very large, with a height of more than 3 meters and a width of more than 2 meters. At a glance, one could tell that it was the descendant of a very powerful exotic beast. Stepping in front of the jade platform, Yu Haoran's joy was immediately replaced by disappointment. This was because the beast egg in front of him, which seemed to have an extraordinary origin, had no fluctuation of life aura, indicating that it was a dead egg that had died many years ago. Sighing in disappointment, Yu Haoran directly cast his gaze on the 7th jade platform. Yu Haoran, wait a moment. This beast egg doesn't seem to be completely dead yet. At this moment, the Thaling in his knowledge suddenly reminded him. Immediately retracting his gaze from the 7th jade platform, Howard looked at the beast egg in front of him again and carefully observed it with his divine sense. However, in the end, there was still no sign of life at all. He could not help but complain. Fouling, judging from the deathly aura inside the egg, this egg has been dead for at least tens of thousands of years. It's already completely dead. Are you sure you're not mistaken? Howard, do you know the origin of this pet beast? Ignoring Howard's complaints, he checked the fouling carefully with his divine sense and asked while suppressing the joy in his heart. I don't know. Howard shook his head. Howard, have you ever heard of the winged dragon of the dragon clan? Fouling continued to ask with a smile. Of course I have. Nodding his head, Howard began to introduce the winged dragon in detail. The winged dragon is a very special, giant dragon of the dragon clan. It's the only one with a pair of wings on its back, and is born with the ability to control the law of wind and the law of speed. They're the favored children of heaven and earth. Therefore, the winged dragon is also known as the flying dragon. It's the fastest giant dragon of the dragon clan. Is there anything else? Fouling asked when he heard Howard's introduction stop. Howard thought about it carefully. It seemed like his understanding of the winged dragon was limited to what he had just introduced. Therefore, he could only shake his head. Seeing that Howard did not have a complete understanding of the winged dragon, Fouling continued to add on. There's an ancient saying that goes, golden scales are not creatures of the pond, but once they encounter the wind and clouds, they will turn into dragons. Howard, the golden scales in this ancient saying refer to the winged dragon. Therefore, the winged dragon is also known as the hidden dragon. At this point, Fouling gestured for Howard to press both of his hands on the shell of the beast egg. Then, he would use his heart to feel the aura of the beast egg. Thump, thump, thump. Pressing both of his hands on the beast egg, Howard had just closed his eyes when he heard a thunder-like heartbeat coming from the beast egg. Judging from the strength of the heartbeat, not only was the beast egg not dead, but it also contained an unimaginably vigorous life force. Fouling, what's going on? Opening his eyes, Howard asked with a shocked expression. If the hidden dragon wants to soar into the sky and become a winged dragon, it must encounter the wind and clouds that will help it transform. At this point, Fouling looked at Howard, who had a puzzled expression on his face. His eyes were filled with gratification as he explained. And you are the wind and clouds that will determine whether this beast egg can be successfully born or not. Fouling, I only have one beast pet contract left, and I already have a target that I like. Howard said firmly as he quickly withdrew his hand from the beast egg. Seeing Howard's firm opposition, Fouling didn't seem to mind at all as he asked with a smile. Howard, I don't think I've ever said that you should sign a beast pet contract with this beast egg. Fouling, don't keep me in suspense. If you have something to say, just say it all in one breath. After hearing Fouling's question, Howard suddenly realized that he seemed to have been fooled. He immediately expressed his displeasure. Winged dragons, as the favored children of the heavens and the spirits of the wind, will definitely not be bound by contracts and will roam freely in the sky. But the loyalty that is seeped into their bones will make them the best companions and the most trustworthy friends in the guild. Without continuing to keep him in suspense, Fouling looked at the beast egg on the jade platform and directly expressed his thoughts. So, you only need to use 3 drops of your essence and blood to awaken the sleeping consciousness of the winged dragon in the beast egg. Then, provide enough energy to help it grow quickly. In the future, it will be your strongest support in martial arts. Fouling, keep the winged dragon egg in the victor. When we return to Xianyang City, I will use my essence and blood and spirit vein to help it break out of its shell and transform into a dragon. When he reached out to press his hand on the beast egg again, other than the sound of his intense heartbeat, Howard vaguely felt a trace of joy. It was also because of this trace of joy that he decided to follow Fouling's suggestion and cultivate the winged dragon in the beast egg with all his strength. After Fouling used his divine telekinesis to keep the beast egg on the jade platform, Howard's gaze returned to the 7th jade platform. On the 6th jade platform was an Empyrean-level saber weapon. Looking at the treasure on the seventh jade platform, Howren's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt. In his sea of consciousness, Thaling also frowned slightly. This was because the treasure on the seventh jade platform was a strange plant that was no more than 20 centimeters tall and had a dozen green leaves. Because the eighth jade platform had an Empyrean-level sword, Howren could only withstand the terrifying power of the weapon and slowly walk to the seventh jade platform. Thaling, do you know the origin of this spiritual tree? Chapter 1212. Thief Sect, 6th floor of the Treasury. Just like you, I don't know the origin of this spirit tree. Faced with Howren's request for help, Thaling said with a wry smile. Thaling, keep in the victor for now. If there is time in the future, I will carefully inquire about the origin of this spirit tree. Howren was slightly disappointed that even the knowledgeable Thaling could not recognize the specific origin of the spirit tree in front of him. All right, nodding his head, Thaling directly put away the jade box in which the spirit tree had taken root. Thaling, wait for a moment. However, just as Thaling was about to put the spirit tree into the victor, a droplet of water dripped from one of the leaves, emitting an impulse that made one's soul yearn for it. It awakened a part of Howren's deeply sealed memory, vaguely allowing him to recall the origin of this spirit tree. Unfortunately, the droplet of water that had just fallen directly melted into the jade pedestal, causing him to lose any hope of further investigation. Therefore, he could only continue to wait for a while. Only when another leaf had condensed a droplet of water and immediately put into the pill bottle did he have the opportunity to carefully examine the origin of the droplet that could make one's soul yearn for it. After carefully examining the droplet of water in the pill bottle, Howren's tone was somewhat bitter as he explained, Thaling, this is a spirit tree that nourishes the soul. The 13 leaves of the spirit tree will automatically absorb the scattered soul energy between heaven and earth, and then condense the purest soul fluid. Howren, the spirit tree that can condense the purest soul fluid can be called a treasure. Why is your reaction so strange? Thaling asked, puzzled. Sigh. After hearing Thaling's interrogation, Howren raised his head to look at the treasury's space, his tone full of pity. The growth and advancement of the spirit tree requires a large amount of soul energy, and the sealed space of the treasury has cut off the source of soul energy. At this point, Howren pointed to the dark green leaves and said, under normal circumstances, the leaves of the spirit tree would appear gray, and the higher the grade, the darker the gray color. However, because the grade of the spirit tree has dropped too much, its attributes have changed. At most, it can only condense soul fluid suitable for martial grandmasters and martial kings. Howren, can you restore the grade of the spirit tree of soul cultivation? The pagoda spirit asked anxiously. The later stages of a martial artist cultivation, the higher the requirements for the soul. If the spiritual tree of soul cultivation could produce soul liquids suitable for martial sages, martial highnesses, and martial emperors, it would be of great help to Howren's divine soul or to heal his injuries. Then, he looked at the ninth jade pedestal. Howren, there is no need for any discussion. The treasure on the ninth jade pedestal is mine. After putting away the spirit tree, Thaling also looked at the ninth jade pedestal. When he saw a fist-sized golden stone on the jade platform, he used his powerful divine sense to put away the golden stone and demanded in an unquestionable manner, "What do you think? Thaling, it's yours." There's no problem. Howren didn't care much about Thaling's overbearing action of putting away the golden stone. He only reminded him with a bitter smile. But shouldn't you tell me the origin of this treasure? Immortal void gold. It can speed up the recovery of Victor's injuries. Thaling threw the golden stone to the original Victor and introduced the origin of the golden stone in a few words. Although he didn't know what precious material the immortal void gold was, Howren, who didn't care much about the immortal void gold since it could be used to heal Victor's injuries, had no objections at this time and looked directly at the 10th jade pedestal. Continuing to resist the terrifying power of the Emperor Realm Sword, Yuhauran walked to the jade pedestal and reached out to pick up the elixir placed on the 10th jade pedestal. After opening it, Yuhauran found that the elixir stored in the elixir bottle was the supreme transformation elixir that could help martial saints and quasi-martial venerables break through to the martial venerable realm. Not only were there as many as 3 elixirs in the elixir bottle, but they were all of the 9th grade of the 3rd level. Thaling, it seems at this time I can let the Heavenly Earth Chamber of Commerce completely suppress the other 2 big chambers of commerce and become the real number 1 chamber of commerce in the Tianxian continent. Yuhauran said with a smile on his face as he shook the elixir bottle in his hand. Okay. Thaling nodded in agreement when he saw that Yuhauran planned to give the supreme transformation elixir to the Heavenly Earth Chamber of Commerce for auction. This was because ever since Yuhauran reincarnated, except for the small breakthroughs that required the help of elixirs, all the big breakthroughs relied on his profound accumulation. Since he couldn't use the supreme transformation elixir, it was far better to use it to exchange for a large amount of resources that could assist in cultivation. After putting away the elixir bottle with the 3 supreme transformation elixirs, Yuhauran looked at the 12th jade pedestal. On the 11th jade pedestal, there was a staff celestial weapon of the venerable realm. However, when Yuhauran passed by the staff celestial weapon of the venerable realm, a faint bloodline call made him stop and carefully observe the white staff celestial weapon of the venerable realm. This was a staff that had reached the upper level of the venerable realm. In addition to its pure white color, there were shallow fingerprints on both ends of the staff. This meant that the original owner of the white staff was an expert with a very strong physical body. Perhaps it was because of the weak bloodline resonance, but the artifact spirit that was sleeping in the white staff gradually showed signs of awakening. Afraid that the spirit of the white staff would wake up and reveal a terrifying power that would alarm the guardian of the treasury, Yuhauran quickly cut off the weak bloodline call between him and the white staff and took a few steps back, away from the jade pedestal where the white staff was placed. When the weak bloodline call was completely eliminated, Yuhauran looked at the 12th jade pedestal. A jade box that emitted traces of cold yin-chi made him feel a sense of familiarity, as if he had seen the treasure in the jade box in his previous life. Yuhauran stopped. When he reached out to open the jade box, Thaling in his sea of consciousness immediately stopped him. Thaling, what's wrong? Withdrawing his left hand, Yuhauran asked in confusion. In the mysterious flame ranking of the Tianxian continent, the 15th green lunar flame, the pagoda genie's reply was both serious and pleasantly surprised. Green lunar flame. After hearing Thaling's reply, Yuhauran's heart suddenly burst with ecstasy. At the sex selection, when Ouyang Aoshue was trying to win over his sister Yusiki, she had said that his sister's primary energy contained a trace of cold qi, which was very suitable for the cultivation method and environment of the Ice Palace. And the mysterious flame, green-white flame, was just like the mysterious Een soul fire, which was just right for martial artists with Een attribute to absorb and refine. Chapter 12-13. Thief Sect, 6th floor of the treasure house. Thaling, when my sister comes to attend my wedding with Ling Fei, give her the green lunar flame in the jade box as a meeting gift, Yuhauran instructed happily. Got it. Nodding, Thaling directly mobilized a part of the victor's energy to wrap around the cold aura emitted by the green lunar flame in the jade box, and then carefully put it back into the victor. Perhaps because the jade box containing the green lunar flame was moved, the cold aura leaking out was even more intense. Even with the victor's energy wrapping around it, Yuhauran could still feel a piercing chill. This kind of heart-wrenching chill once again awakened a scene from his deep slumber, causing him to finally remember where he had seen the green lunar flame in his previous life. I really didn't expect that you were actually from the Thief Sect. Thinking that the sect that looked down on him and tried its best to nurture a successor disciple was actually a disciple of the Thief Sect, Yuhauran couldn't help but laugh happily. Yuhauran, who were you talking about just now? Carefully sealing the jade box in the victor, Thowling happened to hear Yu Haoran's happy mutterings and couldn't help but ask curiously. Nothing. Shaking his head, Yu Haoran didn't tell Thowling that one of his enemies in his previous life was actually a spy planted by the thief sect. At the same time, through the top treasures collected on the 6th floor of the treasure house, he could roughly guess the treasure that the spy really wanted to steal. If that treasure was really stolen, it would definitely shake the foundation of that sect, causing that sect to completely fall from its pedestal. Moreover, it was very likely that it would be reduced to a first-rate sect. It was precisely because he guessed the origin of that person that his original plan of using the opportunity of the 5 regions' hidden dragon ranking competition to directly kill that person changed his mind. He wanted to see how the sect that had looked down on him in his previous life would decline step by step. He also wanted to obtain the treasure that had been passed down for countless years through the thief sect's disciple. Taking a deep breath and dispelling the evil thoughts in his heart, Yu Haoran looked at the 13th jade platform. The treasure placed on the 13th jade platform was still a pill bottle. When he opened the pill bottle, a rich aura of life made him ecstatic. A pure level 2 life essence pill. After Yu Haoran poured out a pill from the pill bottle, he revealed an expression that said, "As expected," which made Yu Haoran happy. The so-called pure meant that the life essence pill had only one effect, which was to greatly extend one's lifespan. On the other hand, the yin-yang longevity pill could not only extend one's lifespan, but could also regulate the yin and yang energy in one's body and improve one's physique. 3,000 years. Looking at the level 2 life essence pill in Yu Haoran's hand, Thowling could not help but exclaim, "Yu Haoran, this level 2 life essence pill's true value to some experts of the martial honorables and Emperor Wu realm is not inferior to an Emperor realm weapon." That's right. Nodding, Yu Haoran shook the pill bottle and found that there were 2 level 2 life essence pills in the bottle. Suddenly, an idea came to his mind. "Thowling, I want to play a big game before the start of the Southern Region Hidden Dragon Ranking Competition after my wedding with Ling Fei. I want to completely lure out those old fellows hiding in the dark." Supreme Hua Pill and Life Essence Pill. Thowling's eyes lit up as he guessed. Not enough. Shaking his head, Yu Haoran looked at the 10 martial honorables and Emperor realm weapons and said with an evil smile on his face, "I need to add some martial honorables and Emperor realm weapons, as well as some heaven-defying pills that are not inferior to the Supreme Hua Pill and Life Essence Pill. Yu Haoran, after returning to Xianyang City, I want to use the time acceleration ability of my real body to cultivate in seclusion for a period of time. I want to add fuel to your plan this time." After hearing Yu Haoran's plan, Thowling was shocked. He could vaguely feel that Yu Haoran's plan this time was not only to lure out those experts hiding in the dark in the Tianxin continent, but also to force out those old fellows hiding in the endless void. The Heavenly Way's rules were becoming more and more perfect, and the surveillance of the Tianxin continent was becoming more and more lax. Luring out those old fellows hiding in the endless void in advance would be beneficial to completely disrupt the situation in the Tianxin continent, and would also be helpful in speeding up Yu Haoran's growth. Therefore, Thowling wanted to lend him a hand. Nodding in agreement with Thowling's plan to fan the flames, Yu Haoran's gaze turned to the 14th jade platform. On the 14th jade platform, there was still a pill bottle. As the 15th jade platform had the black pearl with the heaviest emperor aura, Yu Haoran spent nearly 10 minutes to walk to the jade platform. How is this possible? When he opened the pill bottle and felt the aura of the laws coming from it, his face was filled with disbelief. "Yu Haoran, what's wrong?" Thowling, who was not familiar with alchemy, could not determine the origin of the pill in the pill bottle through the aura of the laws emitted from it. Therefore, Yu Haoran's look of disbelief immediately aroused his great interest. Pouring out the only pill in the pill bottle, Yu Haoran's voice trembled as he said, "This is the rank 2, rank 1 Emperor Essence Pill that can help a peerless expert at the peak of the 9th grade martial honorable realm and an almighty expert to break through to the Emperor Wu's realm." Not to mention that he could not refine the Emperor Essence Pill with his current cultivation. Even if he and his first clone were to become Pill Emperors, they would not be able to refine the Emperor Essence Pill that could help them break through to the Emperor Wu's realm. This was because the refinement of the Emperor Essence Pill not only required precious and rare herbs, many of which have been extinct for countless years, but also required a certain level of understanding of the laws. Sizzle. When the pagoda spirit heard Yu Haoran say that the elixir in his hand was the Emperor Yuan elixir that could help him break through to the martial Emperor realm, he could not help but gasp. As a treasure that had existed since the beginning of the world, Thaling knew how difficult it was to break through to the Emperor Wu's realm. Even in the ancient times, when the environment was most suitable for cultivation, only 2 or 3 out of 1,000 living beings could break through to the Emperor Wu's realm. Not to mention now, when cultivation was so difficult. Yu Haoran, you can't be thinking of taking out this Emperor Yuan pill, right? Shocked, the Tower Genie immediately thought of the plan that Yu Haoran had prepared. It immediately asked in fear if Yu Haoran was willing to auction the Emperor Essence Pill, not to mention the old farts hiding in the void. Even the old farts of the 4 great guardian families would jump out. Chapter 12:14. On the 6th floor of the Thief Sect's treasury. Although Yu Haoran had obtained many treasures during this period of time and was confident that he would be able to reach the peak of Grade 9 Martial Honored Realm in a short period of time, he did not have much confidence in breaking through to the Martial Emperor Realm. After all, he had explored countless ruins and forbidden lands in his previous life. He knew how difficult it was to break through to Emperor Wu's realm. If he had an Emperor Yuan pill in his possession, it would be of unimaginable help to him, whether it was to relax his mind or to make some difficult decisions in the future. Yu Haoran, are you thinking of using the Emperor Essence Pill to help you break through to Emperor Wu's realm? Seeing Yu Haoran suddenly fall into silence, Thaling immediately felt uneasy and quickly asked, if one were to break through to the next realm with the help of pills at the beginning of their cultivation, as long as they could strengthen their foundation in time, it would not affect their future breakthroughs. However, from the martial sage realm onwards, where one needed to comprehend the power of laws, pills that could help one break through to the next realm would become a poison that would affect one's breakthrough to the martial god realm. Although Yu Haoran and his first clone's shocking talent in alchemy might be able to help them break through to the martial god realm with the help of pills, his expectations for Yu Haoran were not limited to becoming an ordinary martial god. Therefore, he was worried that Yu Haoran would be tempted by the Emperor Essence Pill and weaken the firm Taoist heart that he had cultivated with great difficulty. How is that possible? Faced with Thaling's uneasy questioning, Yu Haoran immediately shook his head and denied the idea of using the Emperor Essence Pill to break through to Emperor Wu's realm. In fact, when he had first thought of using the Emperor Essence Pill to help him break through to Emperor Wu's realm, his firm Taoist heart had immediately crushed this idea. He realized that he had to continue improving his state of mind to be able to deal with more temptations in the future. The reason why he had fallen into deep thought earlier was because he was considering the risks of using the Emperor Essence Pill. After all, it was different from an Emperor Realm weapon that could increase one's combat strength and defense. Not only could the Emperor Essence Pill be exchanged for offensive and defensive power on par with an Emperor artifact, but could also grant a longer lifespan, as well as an incomparably high status and authority. Yu Haoran was worried that some peerless experts at the peak of the 9th grade martial revered realm, as well as some almighty experts at the level of Emperor Wu, would launch a sneak attack on the Heavenly Earth Chamber of Commerce. After hearing the reason, Yu Haoran was deep in thought. Thaling let out a sigh of relief and immediately gave a solution with a smile. Yu Haoran, if you want to solve this problem, it's very simple. You can ask the person in charge of the Heavenly World Chamber of Commerce to explain to the public that the mysterious person who entrusted them to auction the Emperor Essence Pill will only auction it during the actual auction. In this case, I don't think anyone will be interested in the Heavenly World Chamber of Commerce. Hearing the solution given by the Tower Spirit, Yu Haoran was enlightened. He knew that he had been too concerned about the risks that the Emperor core essence could bring and had neglected the simplest solution. However, the method that the pagoda spirit had just mentioned gave him an idea. It was a method that could better ensure the safety of the supreme essence pill and sell all the items at sky-high prices. On the 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19J platforms, there was an Emperor realm weapon and 3 venerable realm weapons placed side by side. Therefore, Yuhaoran could only go to the other side of the treasury and start from the 21st J platform. The treasure placed on the 21st J platform was a gray cloth bag that looked exactly the same as the storage bag. After seeing the gray bag on the Jade platform, Yuhaoran was immediately puzzled. He did not understand why the expert of the thief sect would place an ordinary storage bag on the 6th floor of the treasury. He walked to the front of the Jade platform and reached out to pick up the gray pouch. Then, he used his mind to check it, but he was surprised to find that the gray pouch was just an ordinary pouch. It was not a storage pouch used to store items at all. This made him even more puzzled. Yuhaoran, send the bag to the victor. Just as Yuhaoran was unable to discover the abilities of the gray pouch, no matter how he used his divine sense to examine it or how he used his origin energy to tear it apart, the tower spirit in his sea of consciousness suddenly reminded him. Without any hesitation, Yuhaoran directly sent the gray bag in his hand to the victor. Just as Thaling took the gray bag, he could not help laughing excitedly to the sky. Pagoda spirit, what kind of treasure is this gray pouch? Thaling's excited laughter made Yuhaoran realize that he had really found a treasure, so he also asked excitedly, Yuhaoran, next, I will teach you a special refining technique. After that, you can feel the power of the gray pouch for yourself. In response to Yuhaoran's questioning, Thaling raised his hand to teach the refining technique to the spirit in his sea of consciousness and smiled. The refining technique taught by Thaling was not complicated. In less than 3 minutes, Yuhaoran had completely mastered it. Then, he took the gray bag that Thaling sent out again. Using the refining technique he had just mastered, he began to refine the gray bag that even Thaling could not help laughing excitedly. When the refining technique succeeded in creating a special connection between him and the gray bag, Yuhaoran found that the gray bag in his hand had turned into a black hole that was nurturing a terrifying suction force. Thaling, what kind of heaven-defying treasure is this? After carefully feeling the terrifying suction force nurtured by the black hole, Yuhaoran found that even if he used all his strength, he would not be able to resist the suction force nurtured by the black hole. He could not help but ask in horror, Yuhaoran, this gray bag is called the dimensional bag. It can swallow all living things that have the aura of life. The dimensional bag was created by Taoist Yunzhong in the Middle Ages. It is a very heaven-defying special instrument. It can display different levels of power according to the user's cultivation. At this point, Thaling glanced at the dimensional bag in Yuhaoran's hand and continued to explain. Yuhaoran, with your current strength, if you use the dimensional bag, living things below the peak of the 3rd grade martial honored realm will not be able to resist. Thaling, according to your introduction, the true value of this dimensional bag is probably far greater than all the treasures on the 6th floor of the treasury. Yuhaoran said in a weak voice as he held the dimensional bag tightly. Not only that, Thaling suddenly raised his voice and said, Chapter 12:15. Thief Sect, the 6th floor of the treasury. At this point, Thaling looked up at the boundless Tianxian continent through the space of the knowledge sea and the barrier of the treasury's walls. His tone was slightly arrogant. Yuhaoran, if your cultivation can break through the martial god realm, then the power of the dimensional bag can directly swallow all the living things in the Tianxian continent, including the natives of the 10 forbidden areas. Do you think the value of the dimensional bag is high? Sizzle. Thaling's slightly arrogant reply made Yuhaoran gasp. At the same time, an uncontrollable ecstasy emerged in his heart. At the end of the withered Blood Mountain range, in the boundless sea of flowers, The reason why he gave up the Blood Soul Stone and left the Sea of Flowers unwillingly was not only because of the third-grade Martial Emperor Realm life-devouring blood mosquito, but also because of the huge number of life-devouring blood mosquitoes and ordinary blood mosquitoes. If he had the powerful assistance of the dimensional bag to swallow living things, and Thaling's spiritual body recovered to the peak of the 9th grade Emperor Wu, then he could return to the boundless Sea of Flowers and take back the Blood Soul Stone. Moreover, among the countless ruins and caves that he had explored in his previous life, there were a few environments that were very similar to the Sea of Flowers. The dimensional bag could also play a decisive role. Ecstatically putting away the dimensional bag, Yu Haoran's gaze fell on the 20th Jade platform, which was also the last treasure on the 6th floor of the treasury. Thaling, what treasure is this? Walking to the front of the Jade platform, Yu Haoran reached out and picked up a purple token placed on the Jade platform. Over and over again, he checked it 3 times, but did not find any effect of this purple token. I don't know either. Thaling in the knowledge, looked at the purple token in Yu Haoran's hand, and his eyes revealed a trace of sadness and anticipation. But facing Yu Haoran's interrogation, he shook his head and flatly denied. Forget it, I'll keep it first. Yu Haoran didn't notice anything unusual about the Thaling. He shrugged nonchalantly and kept it in his storage ring. Then, he looked at the 10 Honorable Realm and Emperor Realm weapons on the 6th floor of the treasury and said solemnly, Thaling, get ready. Taking a deep breath, the Tower Genie calmed down the emotional fluctuations caused by the purple token. Just as it was about to make its move, the Tower Genie reminded, Yu Haoran, forcibly collecting 10 Exalted Realm and Emperor Realm artifacts will require all the power that Victor can muster. At that time, the energy competition between the Victor and the 10 magical artifacts will cause the entire treasury to shake violently. It will definitely alarm the guardians of the treasury and the experts of the Godly Thief sect. After successfully collecting the 10 Exalted and Emperor-level artifacts, I must control the Victor to tear apart the formation of the treasury and escape from the space of the treasury as soon as possible. So, you must enter the Victor immediately. Nodding, Yu Haoran directly entered the Victor through the imprint in his sea of consciousness. Then, through the space of the Victor, he watched how Thaling forcibly collected the 10 Exalted and Emperor-level artifacts. Just as Yu Haoran entered the Victor, Thaling left the Victor and floated in mid-air on the 6th floor of the treasury. Condense. Using 3% of the Victor's energy, Thaling used a secret technique to condense a yellow energy shield in the shape of a fishing net. Then, he enveloped the 10 Exalted and Emperor-level artifacts. Withdraw, Thaling shouted as he quickly condensed imprints with his 10 fingers. As the yellow fishnet-shaped energy shield began to shrink, the 10 artifacts placed on the Jade platform immediately began to resist. Thaling did not care about the resistance of the 7 Exalted-level artifacts at all. Thaling was confident that he could easily deal with the resistance of the Saber and Sword Emperor-level artifacts. He only felt that the Emperor-level Black Pearl was more troublesome and troublesome. As the resistance of the 10 Exalted and Emperor-level artifacts became more and more intense, the treasury that had been standing calmly began to shake slightly. In the spiritual fog directly above the treasury, the would-be Emperor Wu powerhouse, who was concentrating on cultivation, could not help but frown when the treasury shook slightly. However, when he thought of the concealment of the thief sect's mountain gate and the power of the 5 elements reversal 9 bends formation, he did not take the slight shaking of the treasury to heart and continued to concentrate on his cultivation. 3 seconds later, as the shaking of the treasury began to intensify and alerted the guardians on the east and west sides, the would-be Emperor Wu powerhouse realized that something had happened. He appeared in front of the treasury's main entrance in a flash and waited for 2 seconds. When the other 2 Exalted-level powerhouses also arrived in front of the treasury's main entrance, the 3 of them took out 3 special tokens and then used hand gestures to activate the prohibition in the tokens. It took nearly 5 seconds for the prohibition power in the 3 tokens to slowly open the treasury's main entrance. Without any hesitation, the three guardians of the treasury immediately rushed into the treasury. Thaling temporarily put away the 7 exalted level artifacts and the saber and sword emperor level artifacts, and then deal with the emperor level black pearl alone. Seeing that the 10 artifacts combined together and the energy shield in the shape of a yellow fishnet formed by Thaling's Victor energy were evenly matched, Yu Haoran suddenly became anxious. He took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. Then, he carefully observed the 10 magic tools that were resisting with all their might. When he discovered that the magic tool that had the ability to resist the fishing net's energy shield was the black bead with the highest grade, he immediately reminded them in a loud voice. After hearing Yu Haoran's warning, Thaling immediately made hand gestures and opened a gap in the fishnet's energy shield, expelling the Emperor-level black pearl from the space of the fishnet space, and then used all his strength to put away the 9 exalted level and Emperor-level artifacts. Without the resistance of the Emperor-level black pearl, it took less than half a second for Thaling to successfully put the 9 artifacts into the Victor and directly suppress them. Then, Thaling took a deep breath and was about to use all his strength to deal with the black pearl when the sound of the treasury's door slowly opening came from below. Thaling, give up on the black pearl and leave immediately. Yu Haoran also felt the rapid approach of the 3 terrifying forces and immediately ordered Thaling without the slightest hesitation. Thaling looked at the black pearl unwillingly and finally returned to the Victor with a gloomy face. Then, relying on the Victor's powerful attack power, he directly tore open the treasury's formation. Before the 3 guardians of the treasury rushed to the 6th floor of the treasury, he successfully escaped from the treasury and then attached himself to the fur of the giant rat that had been waiting for a long time. Then, under the control of Yu Haoran and Thaling's guidance, the giant rat quickly escaped from the mountain gate of the thief sect. When Yu Haoran controlled the giant rat to return to the end of the passage, 2 angry roars that could make one's soul tremble immediately came from behind. Needless to say, Yu Haoran knew that the 2 angry roars just now represented the anger of the real Emperor Wu. Chapter 12:16. On the top of a mountain about 7,000 kilometers away from Xiangyang City, Yu Haoran was sitting cross-legged on a huge rock. He woke up the black bear that was sleeping in the beast pet space and ordered it to guard him. Then, all his consciousness immediately entered the Victor. Thaling, don't be too greedy. You have to know when to stop. Seeing Thaling's gloomy face, who was still struggling with the loss of the top-grade Emperor Realm Black Pearl, Yu Haoran smiled and comforted him. Among the 10 venerable and Emperor Realm magic weapons on the 6th floor of the Thief Sect treasure house, we got 9 of them. It's a great harvest. In the face of Yu Haoran's comforting words, Thaling's next sentence made him speechless. His face was as gloomy as Thaling's. Yu Haoran, the top-grade Emperor Realm Black Pearl, is called the Sea-Suppressing Pearl. It's a magic weapon that was born at the same time as my body, Victor, Xinyuan Sword, Yellow Saber, Heaven Refining Pot, and Void Mirror. Yu Haoran's consciousness turned into a body sitting directly opposite Thaling. His face was gloomy as he asked, Thaling, since the Sea-Suppressing Pearl is so important, why didn't you tell me directly? In the face of Yu Haoran's questioning, Thaling took a deep breath and his gloomy face gradually eased. There were a total of 24 Sea-Suppressing Pearls that were born in ancient times. If separated, each Sea-Suppressing Pearl can only exert the power of a top-grade Emperor Realm magic weapon. Only when the 24 Sea-Suppressing Pearls are combined and then refined by a special refining method can they exert the power of a Void Mirror. Speaking of this, Thaling's eyes showed a look of reminiscence. When the primordial age was destroyed, a top godly realm master among you humans burned his own Taoist foundation as the price to create a world with the help of the 24 ocean-suppressing pearls in order to protect the inheritance of countless living beings. This world was created so that countless living beings could avoid the crisis of the destruction of the world. But in the end, some people coveted the strength of the sea-suppressing pearls. They actually used a blood sacrifice to seize control of the 24 sea-suppressing pearls in the world created by the sea-suppressing pearls. What's the result? Howard couldn't help but ask when he saw the silent Thaling. Burning one's foundation is a method for godly realm experts to exchange for more power. The price is even more painful than directly burning one's soul. So when the ocean-suppressing orb evolved into a world, that peak godly realm expert was already completely dead. Among the people who intend to snatch the sea-suppressing pearl, not only are there experts in the divine realm, but they also directly sacrificed all the living beings in the world. The result is obvious. How can there be such a deranged person in this world? Just to fight for a magic weapon, they directly destroyed the lives of countless living beings. Even though Howard had seen countless inhumane experiences in his previous life, he still couldn't understand what those people did. Those who had never experienced the crisis of the destruction of the world couldn't understand the despair and madness when the world was about to be destroyed. Therefore, in the face of Howard's anger, Thaling didn't try to persuade him too much and continued to talk about his memories. Those people who snatched the sea-suppressing pearl back then weren't in the same group. So when they were about to get the treasure, they had a very intense internal fight. The end result was that the sea-suppressing pearl was completely divided. Speaking of this, Thaling looked straight into Howard's eyes and began to explain why he didn't tell him in advance. Howard, to be able to evolve a world that avoided the catastrophe, it wasn't enough to burn the Tao period of a top divine realm expert. It also needed to consume the original energy of the sea-suppressing pearl. Therefore, although the sea-suppressing pearl on the 6th floor of the pickpocket sect's treasure house retains the highest grade of the Emperor realm, the original energy that was consumed back then hasn't really recovered. This is also the reason why I can't use the original energy to sense the true origin of the other party. After listening to Thaling's explanation, Howard nodded and then began to think about how to regain the sea-suppressing pearl on the 6th floor of the pickpocket sect's treasure house. With the cautious style of the pickpocket sect for hundreds of thousands of years, after learning that their hidden sect base was discovered and that they had lost hundreds of thousands of years of collection, they would definitely panic and immediately move the sect's location. It would not be an easy task to find their base again. However, thinking of the spy planted in that sect and the spy's position and goal, perhaps he could find the new base of the divine thought sect from him. After the battle of the hidden dragon list of the 5 pagodas, he could use the huge hidden dragon luck to break through the realm of the martial venerable realm in one fell swoop. At that time, he could join forces with Thaling to seize the sea-suppressing pearl of the Emperor realm. Thinking of this, Howard told Thaling his thoughts and plans in detail. After hearing Howard's plan and ideas, Thaling thought for a while and nodded in agreement. Okay. After making a plan to seize the sea-suppressing pearl in the future, Howard's mind immediately returned to the 7 venerable realm magic weapons, the white cudgel that brought him a bloodline call. Hearing that the white cudgel had a bloodline call with Howard, Thaling was surprised and immediately released the suppressed white cudgel from the victor. Who dares to suppress me, the mad ancestor of sorcery? Just as the white cudgel was released from the victor's suppression, the cudgel's weapon spirit, which had awakened, shouted angrily after being released from its body. I see. When he saw the 10,000-meter-tall giant that had escaped from the space of the white cudgel and appeared in his sea of consciousness, Howard finally knew why there was a bloodline call between him and the white cudgel. It's me. Getting up and walking in front of the 10,000-meter-tall giant, Howard extracted a part of the energy of his divine soul, so that the body transformed by his consciousness also became 10,000 meter tall, and then looked at the weapon spirit of the white cudgel and said, "Boy, why do I feel the aura of my ancient ancestors in her bloodline?" Although they were both 10,000 meter tall giants, Howard had used the power of his soul to manifest a body that did not possess any offensive or defensive abilities. As a result, the artifact's spirit glanced at him with contempt. But it was this contemptuous glance that made it feel a trace of familiar aura in Yu Haoran's consciousness, so it immediately asked excitedly, "As long as you promise not to make trouble, I can answer your question." The emotional reaction of the white cudgel's weapon spirit further confirmed his guess just now, which made him more confident that he could subdue the other party. But the premise was that it could neither make trouble nor escape. Otherwise, Yu Haoran would not dare to let the white cudgel escape from the victor's oppression. "Boy, you don't need to answer. I'll check it myself." In the face of Yu Haoran's request, the weapon spirit of the white cudgel sneered, and then directly stretched out its giant palm to grab the body condensed by his consciousness, intending to directly search his memory. Humph! In the face of the weapon spirit's giant palm, Yu Haoran snorted disdainfully and lowered his head to order thawing. Chapter 12:17. In the space of the knowledge sea, Thowling appeared in front of Yu Haoran in a flash. He stretched out his finger and gently tapped the artifact spirit's giant palm. As the giant palm was instantly frozen, a special power of law began to rapidly strip away the energy condensed in the giant palm. This caused the originally heavy palm to gradually become illusory. "Who are you?" The artifact spirit's attention immediately turned to Thowling when he saw that the artifact spirit could rapidly strip away the energy contained in the giant palm. The artifact spirit asked solemnly when he saw that the middle-aged man in a yellow Taoist robe in front of him looked exactly the same as himself. They were both artifact spirits of the artifact. Thowling ignored the artifact spirit's question. He directly mobilized a part of the victor's energy and began to suppress and seal the artifact spirit's power with all his strength. This caused its grade to quickly fall to the Saint Realm, Emperor Realm, and King Realm. The pagoda spirit didn't stop until the white stick's weapon spirit had fallen to the lower grade of the Grandmaster Realm. However, the artifact spirit only looked at Thowling with a gloomy expression in the face of the rapid decline of its grade. It had no intention of admitting defeat. Faced with the threat of its strength falling to the point of collapse, the artifact spirit's attitude was still so unyielding. This completely ignited the anger in Thowling's heart. Thowling shouted as he quickly formed a seal with his 10 fingers. "Condense!" As he shouted, a small flame exuding a scorching aura instantly appeared in front of Thowling. Looking at the small flame floating in the air, Yu Haoran only felt a trace of scorching aura. However, to the artifact spirit of the white staff, it was as if it had seen a mortal enemy and cried out involuntarily. The fire of the god of implements. Yu Haoran, the so-called fire of the god of implements, refers to a special kind of flame condensed by the artifact refiner's artifact. Method cultivation has reached a certain level. Thowling knew that Yu Haoran did not know much about the art of refining. After seeing the doubt on his face, he controlled the small flame to fly to the white stick spirit while explaining with a smile. Although the fire of the god of implements does not possess a very strong offensive and defensive power, it has an innate ability to restrain the weapon spirits that are born from magical artifacts. "I see." Listening to Thowling's explanation of the fire of the god of implements, Yu Haoran looked at the panicked spirit and nodded. In the face of the fire of the god of instruments that could burn spiritual bodies, the weapon spirit of the white stick instantly calmed down after the initial panic. Then, it shut its eyes and showed an attitude that even if its soul was destroyed, it would not admit defeat. This was also in line with the ancestral sorcerer's unyielding character. Therefore, Yu Haoran, who was very satisfied with the performance of the white stick's weapon spirit, signaled Thowling to take back the fire of the god of instruments that was about to fall on the opponent. "Weapon spirit, follow me." Then, the body formed by his consciousness slowly dispersed, and Yu Haoran ordered in an indifferent tone. After hearing Yu Haoran's order, the white stick's weapon spirit opened its eyes. First, it glanced at Thowling, who took back the fire of the god of instruments, and then looked at Yu Haoran, who had left the space of the sea of consciousness. A puzzled expression appeared in its eyes. "Weapon spirit." After leaving the space of the sea of consciousness, You will know why I have the aura of the ancestral sorcerer's bloodline on my body, and why I asked Thowling to stop just now. After his consciousness returned to his body, he saw that the white stick's weapon spirit was still in the space of the sea of consciousness. Yu Haoran continued to remind it, while activating the body of the ancestral sorcerer. After hearing Yu Haoran's reminder, the white stick's weapon spirit temporarily put away the doubts in its heart. Its consciousness quickly merged with the white stick, and then it was directly sent out of the space of the sea of consciousness by Thowling. However, when it saw the purest ancestral sorcerer aura that was more than 2,000 meters tall, the doubts in its eyes were immediately replaced by joy. Mad Senior greets Master. The weapon spirit, who had left the space of the body again, bowed respectfully and acknowledged him as its master. Nodding, Yu Haoran stretched out his giant palm and grabbed the white stick directly. At the same time, he signaled Thowling to remove the Mad Senior Grade Seal. Just as the Grade Seal was removed, and after seeing Yu Haoran's giant palm reaching out, Mad Senior immediately merged with the stick and then began to increase the length and thickness of the stick, so that Yu Haoran, who maintained the body of the ancestral sorcerer, could perform better with the stick. Just as he held the white stick in his hand, the calm ancestral sorcerer's blood in his body immediately boiled. With the boiling of the ancestral sorcerer's blood, Yu Haoran felt that his physical strength was constantly increasing. At the same time, the white stick in his hand seemed to have broken free from some kind of shackle and became more closely connected with his flesh and blood. Skyward Strike, holding the white stick tightly, he directly soared into the sky, and then used the skyward strike that had been passed down from the Monkey Emperor and directly smashed toward the mountain peak that was thousands of meters tall. Feeling the terrifying power contained in the white stick, the black bear also soared into the sky without hesitation and quickly left the mountain peak. Boom! Accompanied by a deafening roar, the mountain peak that was thousands of meters tall was not only directly smashed into powder by the power of the stick, but the strong penetrating force produced by the stick also blasted a deep pit that was nearly 100 meters deep at the bottom of the mountain. The power of a peak first grade martial honorable. Looking at the deep pit that was 100 meters deep, Thowling said with a slight dissatisfaction. After all, the white stick was not only an upper-grade martial honorable realm magic weapon, but it also had the help of a weapon spirit that maintained its peak state, so it should be able to unleash more power. Thowling, I only used the power of the ancestral sorcerer's body just now. Hearing Thowling's slightly dissatisfied tone and pointing out the power of the skyward strike, Yu Haoran, who had dispersed the ancestral sorcerer's body, said calmly. After hearing Yu Haoran's explanation, Thowling could not help but ask with bright eyes, what about the power contained in the magic weapon? Just the power of the stick. What about the weapon spirit of the magic weapon? Thowling asked with a slightly agitated tone. Just watching from the sidelines. Yu Haoran, what if you use all of your power and supplement it with all of the power of the magic weapon? Thowling continued to ask with even more excitement. If I use all of the power of the stick magic weapon, I should be able to unleash the power of a peak third-grade martial honorable. After closing his eyes and carefully calculating, Yu Haoran said with a slightly uncertain tone, if I have the help of the mad honorable weapon spirit, I should be able to unleash the power of a peak 6th grade martial honorable. After hearing Yu Haoran's estimate of the different powers that could be unleashed by using the upper grade martial honorable realm stick, Thowling said with incomparable excitement, Yu Haoran, now that you have the help of the stick magic weapon, you will definitely be able to reach the top of the Southern Region Hidden Dragon Ranking Contest. You will also have a high chance of breaking into the top 10 of the 5 regions Hidden Dragon Ranking Contest. The final ranking of the Southern Region Hidden Dragon Ranking Contest and the 5 regions Hidden Dragon Ranking Contest would determine the amount of hidden dragon luck that one could obtain. Chapter 12:18. If Yu Haoran could become the champion of the Southern Region Hidden Dragon Ranking and enter the top 10 of the 5 regions Hidden Dragon Ranking, then he would be able to obtain the dragon blessing. Not only would he have a 100% chance of breaking through to the martial honor realm, he would also have a high chance of reaching the peak of the first grade martial honor realm, or even the beginning of the second grade martial honor realm. Once a cultivator reached the martial honor realm, the speed of their breakthroughs would enter a long process of accumulation. Under normal circumstances, a genius with monstrous potential would need at least 3 to 5 years to reach the next stage of the martial honor realm. It could also take 30, 40, or even 50 years. This was also the reason why the 5 regions Hidden Dragon ranking was able to attract countless young talents from the Tianxian continent to participate. Hearing Thaling's expectations for him in the Hidden Dragon ranking, Yu Haoran did not nod his head in agreement, nor did he make any bold statements. He only smiled as he put away the white staff, then turned around to return to Xinying City. This was because he had his own ideas and ambitions for the second stage of the 5 regions Hidden Dragon ranking. He also had his own plans and procedures. If he said it now, not only would it make him seem too arrogant, it would also make Thaling laugh at his ignorance. Just as he turned around and was about to speed up and leave, a deafening explosion came from behind him. Turning his head to look behind him, Yu Haoran discovered that the explosion was at least 1,000 miles away from him. As he was in a hurry to return to Xinying City, he did not meddle in other people's business. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, a heart-palpitating pain caused his expression to change. Normally, when one's heart palpitated, it was either when a fatal danger was about to descend or when one's close friends or family were in danger. He had just obtained the high-grade martial honor staff that could help him unleash the power of the peak of the 6th grade martial honor realm. And he also had Thaling, who could mobilize Victor to protect him. Under the circumstances where experts like Emperor Wu had yet to appear, it was impossible for him to encounter any fatal danger. Therefore, without any hesitation, Yu Haoran sped up towards the place where the explosion came from. At the same time, he used the innate divination technique and used the mysteries of Fushi's 8 trigrams to deduce the reason for his heart palpitating. The blood disaster of a loved one, the regret of losing him. As Xiao Chun looked at the innate divination technique that gave him the final divination, an unimaginably strong murderous intent directly tore apart the clouds for hundreds of kilometers above him. Loved ones. Ever since his parents met with an accident, there was only one person in the entire Tianxian continent who could be considered his closest kin, and that was his sister, Yu Siki. Moreover, according to the time that Tung Yunjia sent a message to the Snow Palace, his sister should have arrived at Xinying City around this time. Therefore, without further guessing, Yu Haoran knew that the roar just now must have been his sister being ambushed. I don't care who you are, and I don't care how powerful the power behind you is. Since you dare to harm my sister, not only will I, Yu Haoran, crush your bones and scatter your ashes, I will also uproot the power behind you. Yu Haoran said murderously as he unleashed all of his strength to increase his flying speed. With Yu Haoran's strength that was infinitely close to that of a martial venerable, it only took him 1 or 2 minutes to cover a distance of 1,000 miles. When he arrived at the top of the canyon, he saw 7 quasi-martial venerable powerhouses in the center of the canyon. They were working together to attack 2 white-clothed ladies who were trying their best to activate a white pearl. When he saw the young white-clothed ladies who were even more outstanding in appearance and temperament, after being separated for almost 2 years, Yu Haoran immediately roared in anger. All of you deserve to die. As he roared with murderous intent, he instantly activated the ancestral witch's body and transformed into a 1,000-meter-tall giant. At the same time, Yu Haoran took out an upper-level martial venerable white rod and charged directly to the center of the canyon like a killing god. Oh no, Yu Haoran is here. Hearing the roar from above the canyon, the 7 black-clothed men who were attacking with all their might looked up at the same time. Immediately after, a 3rd tribulation quasi-martial venerable recognized the young man who was charging over at a glance. Then, he ordered a 2nd tribulation quasi-martial venerable peak black-clothed man. 4th brother, try your best to hold Yu Haoran back. Don't hurt him. Got it, big brother. The second tribulation quasi-martial venerable peak black-clothed man responded and immediately flew up to meet Yu Haoran, who was charging over with murderous intent. Senior Sister Aoshue, is that person Haoran? Yu Siki, who was using the life-saving magic weapon that the Deputy Palace Master had given her when she left the Ice Palace, was trying her best to resist the joint attack of the black-clothed men. When she heard the leader of the black-clothed men call out Yu Haoran's name, she immediately looked up. However, when she saw the giant, who was more than 2,000 meters tall and holding a 100-meter-long white rod, she immediately asked Ouyang Aoshue, who was cooperating with the activation of the life-saving magic weapon, in disbelief. Ouyang Aoshue also looked up at the giant, who was more than 2,000 meters tall, and replied in an uncertain tone. Junior Sister Yu, according to the informant I arranged in the southern region, your brother seems to have mastered a powerful secret technique that can transform into an exotic beast. Perhaps his current state is what he looks like after using the secret technique. After hearing Ouyang Aoshue's reply, Yusiki's eyes immediately welled up with tears. Then, she stared at the figure that was charging over. Although she lacked the help of a second tribulation quasi-martial venerable peak expert, Ouyang Aoshue immediately felt the pressure multiplied when she faced the joint attack of the 6 black-clothed men who were even more powerful. Originally, she wanted to remind Yusiki to overdraw her soul power and origin power to increase the defensive power of the life-saving magic weapon. However, when she saw that her mind was completely lost, she immediately smiled bitterly and shook her head. Then, Ouyang Aoshue took out a pill that would have side effects and directly swallowed it. With the help of the hardness of the white rod and the pure physical strength of the ancestral witch, the power of the skyward rod technique could reach the peak of a first-grade martial venerable. Therefore, when he saw that the opponent who came forward to stop him was only a second tribulation quasi-martial venerable black-clothed man, Yu Haoran immediately laughed sinisterly and increased the speed of his attack. In fact, when he was less than 100 meters away from Yu Haoran, the second tribulation quasi-martial venerable peak black-clothed man was already regretting. This was because he felt the threat of death from the white rod that was quickly swinging over. This meant that Yu Haoran's true strength had far surpassed that of a third tribulation quasi-martial venerable. He was the same as the number 1 genius carefully cultivated by the sect. He had a terrifying strength that was infinitely close to that of a martial venerable. At this moment, he knew that he could not avoid the attack of the white rod at all. Death was his final destination. Chapter 12:19. Above the canyon. Big. Unfortunately, just as the second tribulation quasi-martial venerable man in black opened his mouth to give a warning, the white cudgel suddenly accelerated and instantly appeared above his head. The terrifying power contained in the cudgel directly smashed his physical body and divine soul into powder. It also completely destroyed his final thought of giving a warning. Boom! After easily killing the second tribulation quasi-martial venerable man in black, Yu Haoran, who maintained the height of the ancestral wizard of 2,000 meters, heavily smashed into the center of the canyon, immediately forming a loud noise. The loud noise immediately alarmed the 6 men in black who were trying their best to attack the defensive energy shield formed by the beads. After turning his head and seeing Yu Haoran in the center of the canyon, the leader of the men in black immediately looked up at the top of the canyon and then angrily asked, "Yu Haoran, where's third brother?" "Third brother is waiting for you in hell." Shaking his head, Yu Haoran replied with a grim smile. Then, he directly waved the white cudgel in his hand, and with a move of the cudgel, he immediately resolved the crisis of Yusiki and Ouyang Aoshue. Junior Sister Yu, back off immediately and give your brother room to attack. It was just an ordinary move of the cudgel, but it forced the 6 quasi-martial venerable experts to resist with all their strength. The strength that Yu Haoran revealed made Ouyang Aoshue feel extremely shocked. At the same time, she quickly pulled Yusiki, who was in a daze, back away. Although the power of the ordinary cudgel could not reach the martial venerable realm, the strength of the 6 men in black was far below the martial venerable realm. Therefore, after 3 moves of the ordinary cudgel, only the leader of the men in black, who was the strongest, was left. The reason why the leader of the men in black could survive was not because of how strong his strength was, but mainly because Yu Haoran showed mercy. This was because he needed to know the true origin of the men in black, the reason why they ambushed his sister Yusiki, and the power behind them. Thaling. While quickly dispersing the physical body of the ancestral wizard, Yu Haoran called out to the Thaling in the sea of consciousness. Got it. Thaling, who already knew what Yu Haoran was thinking, immediately used the possession technique. Yu Haoran, you're ruthless. The leader of the black-clothed men looked at Yu Haoran with an unforgettable hatred as he watched his 6 junior brothers, who he had known for hundreds of years, completely disintegrate in a matter of seconds. Don't worry, you will join him soon, Yu Haoran said coldly as he raised his head to look at the hatred in the leader's eyes. Yu Haoran, I know that with the strength you displayed just now, it would be easy for you to take my life. Facing Yu Haoran's final judgment of his fate, the leader of the black-clothed men took out a yellowish talisman from his sleeve. He sneered as he activated the talisman's energy. The reason you didn't kill me was probably because you wanted to use the secret technique of soul-searching to find out my origin and the purpose of ambushing your sister Yusiki. At this point, the leader of the black-clothed men felt the power of the talisman enveloping his body, and his sneer was immediately replaced by a smug smile. But let me tell you, dream on. The 10,000-mile escape talisman that was passed down from ancient times. Looking at the activated yellowish talisman, Yu Haoran coldly pointed out the origin of the talisman, and then slowly raised his arm and said, Do you think you can leave alive with the 10,000-mile escape talisman? Then come at me. The leader of the black-clothed men provoked arrogantly. Scars of time. Yu Haoran's cold eyes flashed with a cold smile as he softly shouted. Along with the soft shout, the power of a law martial technique directly transcended time and space, as well as the barrier of the talisman's power, and instantly entered the body of the leader of the black-clothed men. The leader of the black-clothed men, whose eyes were filled with disbelief, was directly frozen in place. Then, under the incredulous gaze of Yusiki and Ouyang Aoshua, the body of the leader of the black-clothed men was disintegrated into countless pieces. Then, these pieces turned into pictures and began to reenact the life of the leader of the black-clothed men. Flowing Cloud Sect. When he saw that the 7 black-clothed men were from the Flowing Cloud Sect, one of the top 7 sects in the Tianxian continent, and that the reason they ambushed Yusiki was to capture her alive and force her to refine pills for them without compensation, Yu Haoran, who was burning with anger, could not help but let out a roar towards the sky. Haoran! Seeing Yu Haoran roaring towards the sky, Yusiki immediately rushed to his side and shouted worriedly. After hearing his sister's voice, Yu Haoran immediately took a deep breath, forcibly suppressing the murderous aura that was surging in his body, and then shouted with a smile. Sister, Haoran! Seeing Yu Haoran gradually calming down, Yusiki, who was emotional, wanted to directly hug him in her arms. However, she found that after being separated for nearly 2 years, Yu Haoran's body was not only close to 8 meters tall, but his body was also stronger than before. Now, she could no longer hug Yu Haoran in her arms like before. Seeing Yusiki raise her arms, Yu Haoran, who was too familiar with his sister's habits, naturally knew what she wanted to do. He quickly stretched out his arms and directly hugged her in his arms, once again feeling the long-lost family affection. After hugging for nearly 2 minutes, Yu Haoran, who had gradually calmed down, let go of his sister and then looked at Ouyang Aoshua with a smile on his face. However, when he saw Ouyang Aoshua's abnormal expression, his nose twitched a little, and he immediately asked, Senior Aoshua, did you just take the blood soul pill? Hearing Yu Haoran mention the blood soul pill, Yusiki immediately flashed to Ouyang Aoshua's side, and then looked at her with a worried expression. Seeing that Yu Haoran guessed the origin of the elixir she had just taken just by looking at her abnormal face, Ouyang Aoshue nodded silently, while admiring his outstanding alchemy ability in her heart. Here, after getting Ouyang Aoshue's nod of approval, Yu Haoran immediately took out a pill that could resolve the side effects of the Blood Soul pill, and then directly threw it to her. Third tier, first rank, Snow Lotus pill. Not only can it resolve the side effects of the Blood Soul pill, but it can also restore the soul power and origin power that you just overused. Looking at the fragrant Snow Lotus pill in her hand, Ouyang Aoshue was excited, but she was actually a little reluctant to take it. Because the Snow Palace lacked high-level alchemists, pills of 4th tier and above could be said to be very rare. Under normal circumstances, only the 3 palace masters, as well as a few elders and protectors with high authority, could have them. For a disciple like her who seemed to be highly regarded, but actually didn't have a very high status, it was impossible for her to have such a high-grade healing pill. Chapter 1220. At the center of the canyon, seeing Ouyang Aoshue carefully put away the Snow Lotus pill before taking a soul-nourishing pill, Yu Haoran could not help but feel pity for her. He took out a pill bottle containing 8 Snow Lotus pills and threw it to Ouyang Aoshue, saying in an overbearing manner, "Senior apprentice sister Aoshue, you're taking a trash pill of the 1st rank of the 6th rank in front of me, a grandmaster of the pill Tao. Aren't you slapping my face? If this matter were to spread, then how would I, Yu Haoran, have the face to refine higher-grade pills in the future?" Looking at the pill bottle in her hand that contained 8 3rd-grade, 1st-grade Snow Lotus pills, and listening to Yu Haoran's overbearing complaints, Ouyang Aoshue was moved. She poured out a Snow Lotus pill from the pill bottle and swallowed it before sitting down cross-legged. "Little Ran, I haven't seen you in 2 years. You've really grown up." When Yusiki saw that Yu Haoran just used the means of overbearing complaint to make Ouyang Aoshue take the Snow Lotus pill obediently, she walked to him again and sighed with relief in her eyes. Although he had already discovered that his sister's cultivation was already at the peak of the 3rd grade of the Martial Saint realm, when he had activated the magical artifact of the life-saving bead, which was only 4 minor realms lower than Ouyang Aoshue's. This meant that the Ice Palace had definitely focused on nurturing her. However, he wanted to know from his sister what had happened to her in the Ice Palace over the past 2 years. Hearing that Yu Haoran wanted to know about her experiences in the past 2 years, Yusiki looked at the center of the canyon and then pulled his hand to a relatively smooth bluestone rock that could accommodate 4 or 5 people sitting cross-legged at the same time. After sitting cross-legged, Yusiki began to narrate her experiences in the Snow Palace in detail. After hearing how the Snow Palace's palace master and core disciples had nurtured and cared for his sister, Yu Haoran immediately had a good impression of the Snow Palace and decided to make a promise to the Snow Palace. The only pity was that his sister spent most of her time cultivating and rarely walked around the sect. Therefore, she did not find the mantra of the Great Oblivion that he had asked her to find. "Xiaoran, tell your elder sister about your experiences in the past 2 years. After talking about her boring life in the Snow Palace, Yusiki looked at Yu Haoran expectantly. Nodding his head, Yu Haoran tried his best to choose some experiences that weren't too dangerous but were still quite thrilling. Then, he briefly recounted them. "Xiaoran, are you hiding something from me?" Seeing that Yu Haoran had avoided killing 11 quasi-venerable exotic beasts in the Hungduan mountain range by himself and had made a blood oath with the Guliang family, Yusiki questioned with some dissatisfaction. In the face of his sister's questioning, Yu Haoran lowered his head with a smirk and wanted to fool her. He happened to see Ouyang Aoshue, who had finished healing, and stood up. So, he hurriedly stood up and reminded Yusiki. "Sister, senior sister Aoshue has recovered." After glaring at Yu Haoran with some dissatisfaction, Yusiki hurriedly walked to Ouyang Aoshue's side and asked with concern, "Senior sister Aoshue, how are you?" Looking at Yu Haoran with gratitude, Ouyang Aoshue couldn't help but sigh. The snow lotus pill that Yu Zongshi personally refined was far more effective than those peak great sect alchemists. Now, not only have the side effects of the blood soul pill been completely eliminated, even my overdrawn soul power and yuan li have been completely recovered. That's good. After hearing Ouyang Aoshue's sigh, Yusiki immediately gave Yu Haoran an appreciative look. Senior Sister Aoshue, thank you. Facing his sister's appreciative look, Yu Haoran shrugged his shoulders with an expression that said, I've always been very outstanding. After that, he stepped in front of Ouyang Aoshue and thanked her with a solemn expression. Yu Zongshi, Aoshue once promised you that she would take good care of your sister. I'm just fulfilling my promise. Although Yu Haoran didn't explain the reason for his gratitude, she also heard the conversation between him and Yusiki when he was healing her. She knew why he was grateful to her. Moreover, junior sister Yu's achievements are completely related to her talent, as well as her selfless cultivation. Therefore, you don't need to thank me. Ouyang Aoshue, can't accept your gratitude. No. Shaking his head, Yu Haoran looked at his sister and said with a solemn expression, If it weren't for senior sister Aoshue's discerning eyes, my sister wouldn't have become a disciple of the Ice Palace. If it weren't for the Ice Palace's careful nurturing, no matter how strong my sister's talent is, or how firm her cultivation is, she wouldn't have been able to reach her current height. Seeing Ouyang Aoshue open her mouth to defend herself, Yu Haoran immediately raised his hand to signal her not to speak, and then gave his promise. Therefore, in order to thank senior sister Aoshue and the Ice Palace for taking care and nurturing of my sister these 2 years, I, Yu Haoran, promise you and the Ice Palace to refine pills for free. Yu Zongshi, are you serious? After hearing Yu Haoran's promise, Ouyang Aoshue didn't have time to refuse before a surprised voice came from above the canyon. That's right. Yu Haoran wasn't surprised at all by the voice coming from above the canyon. He nodded and confirmed. Everyone who is familiar with me, Yu Haoran, knows that I'm a man of my word. As long as it's something I personally promise, I'll definitely fulfill it. Snow Palace's Vice Palace Master, Shulian, greets Yu Zongshi. After Yu Haoran's confirmation, a middle-aged woman in her 40s appeared in front of him. Although her appearance was slightly ordinary, her temperament was exceptionally outstanding. The middle-aged woman in a white dress bowed slightly and introduced herself. Junior Yu Haoran greets Palace Master Shui. Not only was Shulian the Vice Palace Master of the Ice Palace, but she was also a peak third tribulation expert whose state of mind, spirit, and laws had broken through to the martial venerable realm. Therefore, in the face of Shulian's initiative to greet him, Yu Haoran didn't dare to be negligent and return the greeting. Aoshue greets Palace Master Shui. Ouyang Aoshue and Yusiki also hurriedly greeted Shulian, who appeared in the center of the canyon. Siki greets Master. Hearing his sister call, Shulian Master, Yu Haoran's eyes lit up at the same time. He immediately took out a bottle of pills that could help her break through the grade of her physical body from his storage ring. Then, he wrapped it in yuan qi and sent it to her. Since Palace Master Shui is my sister's master, then my sister's achievements must have been carefully cultivated by you. Therefore, this bottle of third-rank first-grade Qingji Fire Spirit pills is a thank-you gift on behalf of my sister. As an elder, it was already unreasonable for her not to take the initiative to give a greeting gift. How could she accept a thank-you gift from a junior? Therefore, in the face of the pill bottle that Yu Haoran sent to her, Xu Yin wanted to refuse. Chapter 12:21. In the center of the canyon, looking up at Yu Haoran with a faint smile on his face, and then looking down at the pill bottle floating in front of her, Xu Yin finally shook her head and put away the pill bottle with a bitter smile. Subsequently, she took out an exquisite jade box from her storage ring and similarly used the method of wrapping origin energy to send the jade box before Yu Haoran. Yu Zongshi, this jade box is made from the 1,000-year-old mysterious ice collected from the core of the glacier. It can ensure that the spiritual nature of the spiritual medicine in the jade box will not be lost for 10,000 years. Back in the 5th floor of the Law Enforcement Peak's treasure house, the pill bottle that sealed the black gas was carved from thousand-year-old mysterious ice. Therefore, even if Shuel Yin did not take the initiative to remind him, he was well aware of the preciousness of the jade box. Yu Haoran extended his hand to receive the jade box that was wrapped in Yuanli. A trace of a pure and cold aura immediately made Yu Haoran feel that the Yuanli in his dantian, the soul in his sea of consciousness, and the blood flowing in his veins were all faintly frozen. This made Yu Haoran immediately realize that the jade box in his hand was not as simple as thousand-year-old mysterious ice. Yu Haoran, that woman doesn't know anything. This is not thousand-year-old mysterious ice at all, but silver moon divine ice that has been nurtured by glaciers for at least millions of years. Thaling was sorting out the refining materials collected from the 4th floor of the Thief Sect's treasure house in the Victor when he was suddenly alarmed by a trace of pure cold aura. Putting down a piece of black gold in his hand, he flashed into the sea of consciousness. When he saw the jade box in Yu Haoran's hand, he immediately reminded him in surprise. Thaling, what is the effect of the silver moon divine ice? Thinking carefully, Yu Haoran found that he had never heard of the origin of this divine ice. The silver moon divine ice is a very special material. It can not only help to refine Emperor-level instruments, but also be used to make the best talismans. At this point, Thaling directly asked, Yu Haoran, after taking the spiritual medicine stored in the jade box, give this jade box carved from silver moon divine ice to me directly. I plan to use it to refine a special instrument without grade. Okay. In response to Thaling's order, Yu Haoran nodded without hesitation. Then, he reached out and opened the jade box carved from silver moon divine ice. 9 cherry-sized lotus seeds, shaped like a human's heart, immediately reflected in his eyes. This is... Looking at Shuel Yin's eyes filled with anticipation, Yu Haoran was shocked and speechless. Great Grandmaster Yu, do you like the gift that I've given you? Seeing the shock on Yu Haoran's face, Shuel Yin secretly let out a sigh of relief and asked with a smile. Palace Master Shui, do you know the real origin of these 9 lotus seeds? From Shuel Yin's secretly relieved behavior just now, Yu Haoran guessed that she should not know the real origin of the 9 lotus seeds in the jade box. Otherwise, she would never be so generous as to give them away. In response to Yu Haoran's inquiry, Shuel Yin nodded and explained. This is the life essence left behind after the failure of the 10,000-year-old Snow Lotus Grade upgrade. It can be used to assist in the breakthrough of the realm, improve the physique, and enhance a part of the comprehension. After hearing Shuel Yin's explanation, Yu Haoran shook his head and said with a smile, Palace Master Shui, if it were not for your sister's master, I would definitely go against my conscience and agree with your explanation just now. Looking up at Yusiki, who was full of curiosity, Yu Haoran took a deep breath and said solemnly, because these 9 lotus seeds are not like what Palace Master Shuel Yin explained just now. They are left behind after the failure of the 10,000-year-old Snow Lotus Grade upgrade. They are the essence left behind after the 100,000-year-old Snow Lotus has successfully advanced to the first stage of the Divine Realm and left the core body. After hearing Yu Haoran's explanation, Shuel Yin's expression was slightly shocked, and she quickly asked, Yu Zongshi, then do you know what kind of incredible effect these 9 lotus seeds have? Yu Haoran reached out to cover the jade box, wrapped it with Yuanli, and sent it back to Shuel Yin, and explained with a little reluctance. Palace Master Shui, these 9 lotus seeds have a total of 3 powerful effects. The first powerful effect has a 50% chance of assisting in the breakthrough of the martial venerable realm and a 10% chance of assisting in the breakthrough of the Emperor Wu realm. After hearing Yu Haoran mention the first powerful effect of the 9 lotus seeds, Yusiki and Ouyang Aoshue could not help but gasp. After gasping, Shuel Yin looked at the jade box floating in front of her, and there was a hint of struggle in her eyes. Seeing the struggle in Shuel Yin's eyes, Yu Haoran slightly raised the corner of his mouth, and there was a hint of special meaning in his eyes. The second powerful effect is that it can allow a martial artist's talent and comprehension ability to completely undergo a rebirth. Yu Zongshi, how thorough is the change in talent and comprehension? Are there any special restrictions? Hearing Yu Haoran mention the second powerful effect of the 9 lotus seeds, Shuoyin's mind immediately flashed with an impulsive idea, and she quickly asked, "Without any restrictions, it can directly improve the transformation of talent and comprehension by a realm." Yu Haoran explained with a smile. After hearing Yu Haoran's explanation, Shuoyin looked at the jade box floating in front of her. Not only was there a hint of regret in her eyes, but her breathing gradually began to become heavier. Seeing the change in Shuoyin's gaze and breathing at this moment, Yu Haoran could not help but shake his head and sigh softly. In fact, taking the initiative to return and confess the true origin of the 9 lotus seeds, as well as the powerful effect, was not only because he could not bear to lie to his sister's master, but also because he wanted to truly test Shuoyin's character and breadth of mind. If her character could pass, and she could restrain the greed and selfishness in her heart, then when he helped his sister increase her cultivation and strength, he would not forget to help Shuoyin and help her break through to the martial saint realm faster. If the final test failed, and she could not overcome the greed in her heart, then he would have to seriously consider whether to let his sister leave the shackles of the Snow Palace and stay by his side forever. After all, with his current status and means, he already did not need to let his sister continue to stay outside alone and risk her life. However, when he saw his sister's spirited appearance, and how her cultivation had directly reached the peak of the 3rd grade of the martial saint realm in less than 2 years, Yu Haoran decided to give Shuoyin another chance, a chance to choose again. The third powerful effect is to use the 9 lotus seeds as the main ingredient, supplemented with 35 second grade, 1st grade medicinal herbs. It can be used to refine the Emperor Yuan pill, which has a 50% chance of helping Emperor Wu break through to the martial saint realm. After hearing Yu Haoran describe the third powerful effect of the 9 lotus seeds, a trace of disappointment appeared in Shuoyin's eyes. Afterwards, she took a deep breath and extended her hand to grasp the jade box containing the 9 lotus seeds, speaking in an apologetic tone. Yu Zongshi, Shuoyin is only the vice palace lord of the Snow Palace. I do not have the authority to decide whether or not to give away such a precious treasure. Chapter 12:22. In the center of the canyon. Although Yu Haoran was very disappointed that Shuoyin chose to take back the Silver Moon Divine Ice and the 9 lotus seeds, he still comforted her with a faint smile on his face. Palace Master Shuoyin, don't worry. I can understand your difficulties and your decision. At the same time, he hurriedly apologized to Thaling in his sea of consciousness. Thaling, I'm really sorry. It seems that your idea of using the Silver Moon Divine Ice to refine a gradeless magic weapon has fallen through. It doesn't matter. In the face of Yu Haoran's apology, Thaling in his sea of consciousness waved his hand and comforted him with a smile. Yu Haoran, actually, using the Silver Moon Divine Ice to refine a gradeless magic weapon was just a temporary idea. As for whether I have the mood and time to refine it in the future, that's a problem. At this point, Thaling looked through the space of the sea of consciousness at Shuoyin, whose face was full of apology, but whose eyes flashed with surprise from time to time. He sneered and said sarcastically, "However, being able to test this woman's true character through the Silver Moon Divine Ice and the lotus seeds of the 9 snow lotuses can also prevent Siki from encountering unpredictable accidents and harm in the future. Actually, it can be considered a fortunate thing. Thank you, Yu Zongshi, for your understanding and understanding." Seeing that Yu Haoran was not displeased by her reneging, Shuoyin secretly sighed in relief. She hurriedly put away the jade box with the 9 lotus seeds and expressed her gratitude. Waving his hand, Yu Haoran indicated that Shuoyin did not need to be so polite. He stepped in front of Siki and said with a smile, "Sister, why don't you come back to the palace in Xianyang City with me now and meet your sister-in-law, Princess Ling Fei, and see if she's qualified to become the daughter-in-law of the Yu family. Okay. After nodding in agreement, Yusiki quickly walked in front of Shuoyan and said respectfully, "Master, I'll follow Howren to the Imperial Palace in Xianyang City. I'll return to the Snow Palace after I finish participating in the Hidden Dragon ranking competition in the southern region." At this moment, Shuoyan wanted to return to the Snow Palace's secret chamber as soon as possible and use the 9 lotus seeds to transform her potential and comprehension. Then, she would use them to break through to the realm of a martial saint. Therefore, in the face of Yusiki's resignation, she immediately smiled and nodded in agreement. "All right, then Siki, hurry up and follow Yuzongshi to Xianyang City. Go and see Princess Ling Fei, whom you've been waiting for a long time." After cupping his hands to Shuoyan and Yusiki, Yu Haoren directly held Yusiki's arm, and then took her to the sky, quickly flying away from the center of the canyon. As she raised her head to watch Yu Haoren and Yusiki leave the center of the canyon, Ouyang Aoshue could not help but sigh softly. Her eyes were filled with deep disappointment. Then, she retracted her gaze and looked at Vice Palace Master Shuoyan, who had taken out the jade box again and was carefully examining the 9 lotus seeds. Her eyes flashed with disdain. Then, she completely ignored Shuoyan and soared into the sky, heading straight for the Snow Palace in the faraway western region. She knew that Shuoyan's sudden change of heart had ruined the palace master's plan to establish a good relationship with Yu Haoren through Yusiki and obtain a large number of top-notch pills. Therefore, she needed to inform the palace master immediately so that the palace master could think of a way to resolve Yu Haoren's dissatisfaction and disappointment. Shuoyan, who had been examining the 9 lotus seeds, suddenly raised her head to watch Ouyang Aoshue fly away from the center of the canyon. A cold light flashed in her eyes. Then, she put away the jade box containing the 9 lotus seeds, and her entire being began to fade. Xianyang City, Iyue Palace Hall. Looking at Zhou Yiqian, who had taken the initiative to visit Iyue Palace Hall for the 5th time, Qin Lingfei felt a headache coming on. At the same time, she looked at her with a trace of dissatisfaction. Qin Lingfei was not an ignorant woman. In fact, since the first time Zhou Yiqian came to visit, seemingly unintentionally, but actually quite shrewdly, she had brought the topic to Yu Haoren. She knew Zhou Yiqian's real thoughts. In terms of appearance, talent, and family background, Zhou Yiqian far surpassed her in all aspects. If the two of them could achieve a happy ending, the Zhou family would be a great help to Yu Haoren's growth. Therefore, Qin Lingfei could accept the fact that Zhou Yiqian had become Yu Haoren's woman. But there were less than 3 days before her wedding with Yu Haoren. She really did not want to see such a thing happen at this juncture. It would make her feel very uncomfortable and disgusted. Princess Ling Fei, Yiqian had learned about the profound Yin Soul fire in the family's hidden scriptures pavilion. Ignoring the dissatisfaction in Qin Lingfei's eyes, Zhou Yiqian walked towards the pavilion of Iyue Palace Hall, while talking about the topic she was interested in. It seems that in the inner valley of Death Valley, there is a stock of elixir that can help the profound Yin Soul fire to reach maturity. Seeing that Zhou Yiqian not only knew about the type of elixir that could help the profound Yin Soul fire to reach maturity, but also the specific location of the elixir, Qin Lingfei immediately put away the dissatisfaction in her eyes and asked with a smile, "Miss Yiqian, what kind of elixir is it that can help the profound Yin Soul fire to reach maturity?" 3rd level, 1st grade blue blood, profound Yin flower. Sitting on a stone chair in the pavilion, Zhou Yiqian did not treat herself as an outsider and took out a tea set. She carefully brewed the tea and replied with a smile, 3rd level, 1st grade blue blood, profound Yin flower. Repeating it word by word and firmly remembering the type of elixir, Qin Lingfei sat opposite Zhou Yiqian and then carefully watched every step of her brewing the tea. Seeing the utensils that Zhou Yiqian used to brew the tea, as well as the skill of brewing the tea, Qin Lingfei could not help but feel a little envious. She knew that although the great Emperor Qin Empire was one of the three great empires of the Tianxian continent, but compared to the Zhou family, which had been passed down since the Middle Ages, whether it was the family's heritage or the cultivation of the younger generation, it was much worse. The idea of reluctantly accepting Zhou Yiqian as Yu Haoran's woman was gradually replaced by calmness. From the corner of her eyes, after seeing the change in Qin Lingfei's expression, Zhou Yiqian could not help but secretly feel proud. Although in terms of talent and appearance, she could not compare to the number one beauty in the family, Zhou Mingling, in terms of scheming and skills, she was confident that there were not many women in the younger generation who could surpass her. Princess Ling Fei, although the danger level of the inner valley of Death Valley cannot be compared to the 10 great forbidden grounds, it is not a place where martial saints can enter as they wish. Putting away the pride in her heart, Zhou Yiqian picked up the freshly brewed tea and brought it to Qin Lingfei, reminding her with a solemn expression. Therefore, before you have full confidence, you must not enter rashly. Otherwise, you will be in fatal danger at any time. Reaching out to take the tea from Zhou Yiqian, Qin Lingfei smiled and nodded. In fact, she knew more about the danger level of the inner valley of Death Valley than Zhou Yiqian. Chapter 1223. Xianying City, Yue Palace. Good tea. She took a whiff of the tea floating in the teacup. There was an orchid fragrance, and Qin Lingfei couldn't help but take a small sip. The faint fragrance of the tea slowly seeped from her nose to her throat. Her limbs and bones felt relaxed and comfortable, making her praise sincerely. If Princess Lingfei is interested in the way of tea, we can learn from each other in the future. Qin Lingfei's heartfelt praise made Zhou Yiqian even more pleased with herself as she continued with her plan. If she could learn Zhou Yiqian's profound way of brewing tea and make it for Yu Haoran frequently, it would not only eliminate his inner tyranny, but also improve their relationship. Therefore, even though she knew that learning from each other in the way of tea was Zhou Yiqian's scheme and a way for her to get closer to Yu Haoran, Qin Lingfei could not help but nod her head impulsively. However, at this moment, the communication jade talisman that she had kept in her sleeve suddenly vibrated. She quickly put down the teacup in her hand and took out the communication jade talisman. Qin Lingfei quickly read the message in the jade talisman. Lady Yiqian, I'm really sorry. Lingfei can't continue learning from you in the way of tea for the time being. Qin Lingfei apologized as she stood up and explained. Because the prince consort has returned. Ignoring Zhou Yiqian, whose expression had changed slightly, Qin Lingfei excitedly left the pavilion. She then soared into the sky and quickly rushed out of the palace. However, just as she rushed out of Xianying City, the happy smile on her face froze and tears quickly welled up in her eyes. Because Yu Haoran, who had sped up, was not alone. At this moment, he was accompanied by a beautiful fairy dressed in fluttering white robes, who looked like she had just walked out of fairyland. At this moment, the fairy-like beauty was tightly holding onto his arm with a blissful smile on her face. Although she knew that Yu Haoran could not belong to her alone, there were less than 3 days before the wedding and he had a new lover. How could Qin Lingfei not feel sad? Sis, Lingfei is here to pick you up. When Qin Lingfei had just rushed out of the palace, Yu Haoran had already noticed and hurriedly warned Yusiki. After hearing Yu Haoran's reminder, Yusiki immediately looked up. She wanted to see what was so outstanding about Qin Lingfei that her brother could not forget and praised all the way. Dressed in a light purple dress, the girl standing outside Xianying City appeared bright and moving. At the same time, she gave off a pure and inviolable sacred aura. Yusiki had already fallen in love with Qin Lingfei based on her appearance, clothes, and temperament. But when she saw the tears welling up in Qin Lingfei's eyes, she knew what was going on after some thought. While feeling more satisfied with Qin Lingfei, Yusiki could not help but want to tease Qin Lingfei to see how deep her love for her brother was and how open-minded she was. Therefore, she tightly held onto Yu Haoran's arm with a happy smile on her face. Seeing Yu Haoran getting closer and closer, Qin Lingfei took a deep breath and forcibly suppressed the sadness in her heart. She wiped the remaining tears from the corners of her eyes and then squeezed out a smile to greet him. Ling Fei, let me introduce you. Perhaps because it was the first time his sister and his beloved woman met, Yu Haoran, who was slightly nervous, did not notice Qin Lingfei's abnormality. He smiled and took the initiative to introduce them. However, before he finished his introduction, Yu Siki directly interrupted him. It turns out that you are Princess Ling Fei. While sighing, Yu Siki flew to Qin Lingfei, looked her up and down, and then evaluated her like a wife to a concubine. Sister, on the way here, I often heard Howard mention you. He said that Qin Lingfei is a beautiful and intelligent girl and is definitely suitable to be the daughter-in-law of the Yu family. But I don't believe it, because I firmly believe that hearing is false and seeing is believing. Only with my consent can you really become the daughter-in-law of the Yu family. The fairy in front of her, who seemed to come out of fairyland, called her sister. Her tone and attitude towards her were as arrogant as a wife. Qin Lingfei suddenly felt a burst of anger in her heart, and her attitude became quite rude. Oh, then I don't know if I, as your younger sister, can be accepted by you? It's still passable. Feeling the anger in Qin Lingfei's reply, although Yusiki's face instantly became serious, she was quite satisfied in her heart. Since it's not bad, then I don't know if I, Qin Lingfei, am qualified to be the daughter-in-law of the Yu family? Seeing Yusiki's serious face, Qin Lingfei also immediately put on the airs of a princess and questioned in a condescending tone. Since it's not bad, then it means that there are still some shortcomings, and you still need to be properly trained. Ignoring Qin Lingfei's princess airs, Yusiki continued to tease her. Even if Yu Haoran's reaction was slow, at this time, he also saw the tit-for-tat between Yusiki and Qin Lingfei. His sister was a reasonable person, and Lingfei was a beautiful and intelligent person. It was reasonable to say that the two people should be familiar with each other at first sight. Why did they start to compete with each other? Since he couldn't figure out, he directly asked, so Yu Haoran stood between the two people, looked around, and asked with a puzzled face. Sister, Lingfei, what's wrong with you? Haoran, when did you? The anger constantly aroused by Yusiki made Qin Lingfei temporarily forget the dignity of a lady. She couldn't help but angrily want to question Yu Haoran and ask him why he brought back a woman with a higher status than her before the wedding. But before the question was asked, Qin Lingfei unexpectedly found the name Yu Haoran just called the woman in front of her. Thinking that Yu Haoran's only relative in this world was his sister, who was related to him by blood, Qin Lingfei quickly shut up and carefully observed the woman in front of her. The more she observed, the more guilty Qin Lingfei felt. Because the two people were very similar, whether it was the outline of the face, the eyes, and the mouth, they were obviously related by blood. It seems that you have guessed who I am. Qin Lingfei's face changed, and she subconsciously stepped back, let Yusiki know that her trick to continue to tease her failed, and she immediately put on a gentle smile. Ling Fei greets my sister. Although she didn't directly admit her identity, the tone of the question and the gentle smile made Qin Lingfei have confirmed her true identity. Chapter 12:24. Outside Xianyang City, as the saying goes, an elder sister is like a mother. For Yu Haoran, who had lost his parents, Yusiki was not only an elder sister who took care of him as he grew up, but also a mother who loved him dearly. When his soon-to-be daughter-in-law met her elder sister and mother-in-law for the first time, not only did she have a very bad attitude, but she also used her status as a princess to coerce them. This made Qin Lingfei feel deeply ashamed, and at the same time, more nervous. She was worried that her bad attitude would make Yusiki feel disgusted, and then she would oppose her marriage with Yu Haoran. Elder sister, this is your fault. Yusiki's rhetorical question, Qin Lingfei's shame and nervousness, And then combined with the tit-for-tat confrontation between the two, Yu Haoran immediately knew the reason for their hostility. He thought that the reason for their hostility was because his elder sister took the initiative to tease them. Thinking of Ling Fei's beauty and wisdom, as well as her deep affection for him, Yu Haoran immediately scolded Yu Siki with dissatisfaction. What kind of good girl Ling Fei is? I've already told you clearly on the way here. What you needed to do just now was neither a test nor a trick. What you needed to do was to give her the blessings of an elder sister and an elder. Haoran, don't say any more. After hearing Yu Haoran's merciless scolding, Qin Ling Fei immediately felt that she was surrounded by a thick happiness. However, when she thought of Yusiki's earlier test and teasing, she knew that it was also for her brother's sake. She didn't want to see any unhappiness between the siblings, so she hurriedly pulled Yu Haoran's sleeve and reminded him in a low voice. Faced with Yu Haoran's merciless scolding, Yusiki glared at him fiercely, stepped in front of Qin Ling Fei, and then held her hand and said, "Princess Ling Fei, I'm sorry. Please forgive me for my painstaking efforts as your elder sister." "Elder sister, it's okay. Ling Fei isn't angry." Seeing Yusiki take the initiative to apologize to her, Qin Ling Fei panicked and quickly waved her hand to comfort her. Moreover, Ling Fei's attitude just now wasn't very good. "I hope elder sister doesn't take it to heart." Shaking her head, Yusiki took off a dark green bracelet from her wrist and said with a slightly sad tone, "Ling Fei, this bracelet is the only relic left for me and Haoran. Although it's not a very precious gift, it represents the attitude of the Yu family. I hope you can keep it well." After putting on the bracelet for Qin Ling Fei, Yusiki looked at Qin Ling Fei, whose eyes were slightly red. "Ling Fei, from now on, you have received the consent of the only elder of the Yu family, and are qualified to become the daughter-in-law of the Yu family. Elder sister, Ling Fei will treat this bracelet as a family heirloom and pass it down from generation to generation." Tightly holding Yusiki's hand, Qin Ling Fei promised with a firm expression, "Elder sister, Ling Fei, if you have anything to say, let's go back to the palace first." Seeing that the two were getting along very well, Yu Haoran secretly let out a sigh of relief, and at the same time, he noticed that the pedestrians below stopped and began to point and discuss, so he quickly reminded them. As the saying goes, a magpie with a long tail forgets its mother after marrying a wife. Faced with Yu Haoran's reminder, Yusiki immediately put away the smile on her face and began to retaliate against Yu Haoran's merciless scolding with a rather unhappy tone. "The old saying is indeed true. You haven't even married, and you're already helping your daughter-in-law to scold your elder sister. Looks like I really doted on you for nothing." After a round of scolding, Yusiki completely ignored the stunned Yu Haoran, and then pulled Qin Ling Fei's hand and rushed towards the palace while saying angrily, "Ling Fei, let's not bother with this ungrateful fellow. Now bring elder sister to visit the palace you live in." "All right." Looking at Yu Haoran with a sympathetic gaze, Qin Ling Fei smiled and followed Yusiki to the palace. "Vomit blood, who did I offend?" Looking at his elder sister and Qin Ling Fei, who ignored him and left alone, Yu Haoran incomparably gloomy, and then smiled bitterly as he sped up towards the palace. "Prince Consort, please wait." But just as he arrived at the palace and was about to rush to a Yue palace, he suddenly heard Steward Jiang's voice urging him to stay. Seeing Steward Jiang standing outside the palace and waving at him, Yu Haoran could only temporarily give up on the idea of going to Yue Palace and quickly landed beside Steward Jiang. "This old servant greets Prince Consort." Seeing Yu Haoran land in front of him, Steward Jiang immediately knelt down on one knee to greet him. "Steward Jiang, I don't know how many times I've said, next time when you see me, Yu Haoran, just cupping your hands is enough. There is no need to be so formal." Seeing Steward Jiang kneeling on one knee, Yu Haoran very helplessly persuaded him. Steward Jiang, who had stood up, pretended not to hear anything, and then said with a smile, "Prince Consort, the prince's mansion bestowed to you by the emperor has been completed. It is just waiting for you to take a look." Hearing Steward Jiang mention the prince's mansion, Yu Haoran was pleasantly surprised and confirmed it has been completed. Back then, after discussing the wedding date with Emperor Qin, they had specifically discussed the wedding, as well as the issue of where they would live in the future. Originally, according to the laws of Emperor Qin's kingdom, after the prince consort and the princess were married, they had to live in the designated location of the prince's mansion. That was the elegant guest area in the west of the city. This was because there were dozens of mansions built by the imperial clan court there. Moreover, whether it was the shape, scale, or the style of construction, the dozens of mansions were exactly the same. After all, the great Emperor Qin's kingdom did not only have one princess, Qin Lingfei, and Yu Haoran was not the only prince consort. However, both Yu Haoran and Emperor Qin were not very satisfied with the environment of the elegant guest area in the east of the city, as well as the mansions built by the imperial clan court. If not for the ancestral rules, Emperor Qin would have wanted Yu Haoran to live in the joyous moon palace in the imperial palace. Therefore, after much discussion, they finally decided to use Yu Haoran's feng shui skills to build the prince's mansion in the east of the city, in the mansions that originally belonged to the three officials from the Ministry of Rights and the Ministry of Personnel. Yu Haoran did not interfere too much in the matter of how to appease the three officials to leave willingly, as well as the construction of the prince's mansion. He only gave Emperor Qin the building plans that his second clone had personally drawn up and asked him to arrange for the builders to build according to the plans. Take me there quickly. From choosing the location, opening the door, and finally completing it, it took less than 13 days. While Yu Haoran was grateful to Emperor Qin for his good intentions, he also wanted to see a home that belonged to him and Ling Fei as soon as possible. More importantly, there were less than 3 days until his wedding with Qin Ling Fei. Not only did he need his second clone to use the array and spirit vein to remodel the prince's mansion, he also needed to prepare some earth-shattering measures for the wedding day. Prince Consort, please follow this old servant. Understanding Yu Haoran's eagerness to see the prince's mansion, Steward Jiang used a movement technique to bring him to the prince consort's residence in the east of the city. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.